Hey guys, tonight we step softly into a room that shouldn't exist, one stitched from inkless vellum, where the walls hum with prayers no god remembers. You're standing before a table not carved but gnawed, its legs uneven from years of dragging something heavy across stained floors. A low wet breath seeps from under the door behind you. It will not open again. Not tonight. This isn't a story you'll finish. You probably won't survive this, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Post your location and local time below. Let's see who's still awake with us. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The room greets you like a mouth left open too long, dank, warm, and lined with soft ridges. Bookshelves slouch under the weight of bindings, too pale to be leather, too supple to be cowhide. You already know every page here is bound in the skin of a forgotten priest. You step forward, and the table sighs beneath your shadow. It isn't dust that coats its surface, it's ash, flecked with hair to find for any beast. A folio rests there, still slick with something not quite oil. Its cover is stitched with black wire in crude loops, as if the thing fought being shut. You touch it, it is not cold. Behind you, the walls give a slow breath, boards expanding as if exhaling something trapped inside for centuries. A draft circles your ankles, whisper thin, smelling faintly of incense and iron sacrament and slaughter. When you open the folio, it does not resist. The first page is blank, then flickers. Words stain their way across, as if seeping from beneath the parchment like blood from a reopened wound. They form not in black, but in a deep rust red, curling like fingers. Do not read aloud. He listens for that. Your breath stutters, not from fear yet, but recognition. You have read something like this before, not here, not precisely. But your memory scratches a dream you once had, of binding your own tongue in linen and burying it in salt. The ink smells of frankincense and rot. There's a chair by the table. It wasn't there before. You sit, the room doesn't brighten, but your eyes adjust unnaturally fast. The second page begins writing itself without your touch. A date older than the calendar, you know, the scribe's name, perhaps. A symbol shaped like a spine with too many vertebrae. Then a passage in curling script that your eyes shouldn't be able to read, and yet you can. The binding rune does not open, it finds. It knocks, and the forgetting answer, a familiar twinge, returns. You remember walking to this room. You remember the candle. You don't remember unlocking the door. You never found a key. The room hums again, this time under the table. A low, contented growl like something in the grain wood purring. The folio shifts in your hands, not heavier, more interested. The next page trembles as it reveals itself. A sketch appears, line by aching line, a room, this room. The walls are identical except for one thing. In the drawing, behind the chair you now sit in, is a figure. Not quite a man, thin, robed in stitched pages, no face. Just a blank oval with a jaw etched in teeth-shaped scripture. You don't turn around. Your hands feel slick. You lift one from the page. The thumbprint remains not ink, but something dark and arterial. The room exhales again, and something exhales with it. The air shifts behind you, just enough for your ear to catch a word from a throat with no lungs. Turn. You don't. The book approves. The page warms. And a marginal note appears beside the sketch one you didn't write. It curls in your handwriting. Not this time. The binding remembers. The pages flutter, not from wind, but from something moving beneath them. The butcher's folio isn't just a book. It's an entrance, a trap, a catalog. You've begun reading it, and already, it's reading you. The light changes. Not brighter, not darker, just less trustworthy. Shadows thicken in the corners like coagulated smoke. A heartbeat you mistook for your own begins pacing beneath the floorboards. It isn't sensed to you, not yet. You glance at the doorway, gone. Not shut, not walled, gone. The room's shape shifts only slightly. The book yawns open wider, another page turns, and you find yourself reading about someone who looks like you, moves like you, wanders into a room exactly like this one. The entry ends abruptly, mid-sentence, just as the figure reaches for it. You slam the folio shut. It groans, actually groans. You back away, but the chair snags your coat. When did you sit again? The book's wire stitching flexes, as if breathing. And from somewhere beyond the bookshelf, a dry rasp begins. A chant in a tongue that shouldn't echo in your bones like it does. You cover your ears. It gets louder. Somewhere beneath the table, something scratches. Not wood, not flesh, but parchment on parchment. The binding room has awakened, and it wants to be read. The scratching doesn't stop. It grows more precise, measured, like a quill dragged across skin. Not frantic, not even desperate, deliberate. The butcher's folio lies dormant before you now, but the air around it warps, thickens. The dust no longer settles, it hangs midair, trembling, as if afraid to land. You lean forward, not to read, not exactly. More like to listen. The book is humming. No melody, no rhythm, just a low vibration against your fingertips when you dare touch the cover again. It's no longer slick, it's warm now, living warm, and the wire that once bound its cover has split slightly, just enough to show the redder pulp of pages deeper within those that haven't seen light since they were first sewn into flesh. You feel a smile press against your spine. You don't turn. You already know there's nothing behind you that you want to see. Another page curls upward of its own accord. This one is written in soot. You taste it in your throat before your eyes even land on the script. It's older than language, maybe, but you understand it. Somehow, the meaning bleeds directly into your awareness like poison through a cracked tooth. This is the first record of the Woundless King. He was born without scars, no birthmark, no bruise, no hint of ever having been touched. His flesh rejected damage, even memory. Pain slid off him. The knife never knew where to land. You read of his rise, not as conqueror, but collector. He took saints, stitched them into one lone choir, fed them to the pit beneath his throne, where they sang without tongues. Each song added a floor to his palace, a cathedral of echoes, never finished, because the last note was always devoured. The Black Psalm of Vorther mentions him only once, an entire verse scratched out with ash. But the surviving margin tells of his bride. She had no eyes, only mouths that whispered backwards. You blink, the words don't change. You read them again, they whisper now. You push the book away, but your hands sink too far into the page, deeper than paper should allow. It's not soft, it's receptive, like skin that's waiting to be marked. When you finally pull back, something stays behind, a smear, yours. Not blood, but closer to signature, and below it, a phrase appears in shaking script. He collects again, the scratching under the table stops. The silence that follows isn't silence. It's breath held. Something in the walls has paused its movement, waiting for your next decision. The folio's spine flexes. It likes this tension. It feeds on it. Another page lifts. You shouldn't look, but you do. It's a map of a city you've never seen, but somehow recognize. Walled, spiraled inward like a snail's shell, with towers rising in angles that reject geometry. At the heart, a pit. The ink pools there, as if the page bleeds from its center. No name marks the city, but a phrase hovers above it. He who enters here returns in fragments, and beneath that, do not fold the map, it folds back. You flinch. Something just folded, not the map, the room. The ceiling is lower now, or maybe you're taller. Either way, the light from the single candle no longer reaches the corners. They're wider now. You feel watched, but not in the usual way. Not eyes, something more like ... attention given form. And noticing, you're being memorized. The book doesn't ask permission. It opens again, this time, it's a portrait. Full page etching, a figure cloaked in scripture, no face. Just a void wearing drains inward, his hands end in quills. He stands before a shelf made entirely of tons, pressed flat like bookmarks. Beneath the image is a name. Curator Sithard of the Skin Vault. The text beside it reads, Sithard does not forget, he only rebinds. And again another marginal note not in your hand. It born of it, he's still curator. Your arrival was expected. A chill licks up your neck. You dare to glance behind you, but the room has changed. The chair is gone. The walls pulse slightly, like lungs struggling after a scream. A door exists now, but it's upside down. Hinges at the top, handle blood-rusted and shaped like a tooth. You don't remember seeing it open. But it's ajar. The folio flips once more. The next page is half-burned, edges curled like a wound healing wrong. Only one phrase survives in full. The woundless king feeds on readable names. You close the book, no try to. It won't shut, the laugh dry as sheared parchment tickles the corner of the room. You try to locate the source, but the laugh is already moving, traveling the spines of the books around you, hopping from title to title like a child stepping through graves. A creak from beneath, then a single page slips out of the folio. Just one, it flutters down, impossibly slow, and lands face up on the floor. You don't want to look, you do. It's blank except for a single name, scrawled in red, yours ... not your full name. Just the one you tell people when you don't want to be found. The candle sputters. From the walls, something rustles like fingers brushing against parchment, or maybe being written into it. The book hums again, louder this time, expectant. The door creaks open wider. And in the silence that follows, the candle flame leans toward the folio not from draft, but curiosity. You're not alone. You never were. The page with your name remains still, but only until you blink. Then it's gone, absorbed. You check the floor, your lap, even the space behind you, though you know better than to turn so quickly in this place. No sign of it, but the book looks fatter now. Like it has fed, the flame gutters again, though there's no breeze. You register that with a corner of your mind, the one still trying to process things like physics, cause and effect, safety. You'll shed that part soon. The folio prefers it. Another page unfurls, this one not bound by the usual arc of the spine. It folds outward, to the left, stretching wider than the book should allow. The skin paper groans like old leather, revealing a double spread drenched in sepia and something darker. It's a bestiary, no names, no descriptions, just sketches. Creatures drawn with unsettling anatomical accuracy, as if the artist had studied from fresh corpses or unwilling, breathing subjects. You see figures half swallowed by fungus, spines inverted like cages, faces bloomed into rows of nested eyes. And then you see him, or it, or the thing that looks almost like a man. Third row, center fold, taller than the rest. No mouth, just a vertical seam down the front of its skull. Like a butcher's curtain, fingers stitched together into flat blades. Chest opened sideways, ribs peeled back to reveal not organs but pages. Scripted ones, he's titled only, The Archivist. You've seen that word before, somewhere deeper than reading. Beneath the image, more script appears wet, as if inked just now. He curates memory. Yours is overdue. You step back, but your spine meets something yielding. Not the wall isn't soft. You turn anyway, you shouldn't. A curtain. Torn and swaying, though the air is dead. Behind it, shelves. Floor to ceiling, bound volumes packed tight, but not alphabetically. You see familiar curves in the binding's shoulder blades. Spine's actual ones, ribs turned into clasps, and titles that hum when you look too long. You're in the vault, the book never mentioned moving. But you're here now, you scan the nearest shelf. Names shimmer across the bindings, then blur again, some too ancient to comprehend. Others alarmingly modern. There's even one labeled only with a set of teeth marks. A bell tolls, dull, distant, no source. You feel it in your jaw, in the backs of your eyes, and the folio's page turns again. This time, not a history, a warning. If you hear the bell, do not recite the catalog. If you see the archivist, do not describe in. If you remember your own birth, run simple enough, except that first one. The catalog, you try not to think about it. You fail, the words arrive unbidden, in your head, then in your mouth. Ash to ash, bone to ink, let the record take me. You stop, too late, the shelves twitch. One of the book's ... shutters open. Not just the covers, it opens like a mouth, pages flip rapidly, flinging sound into the air, not words, but syllables that sting. You clutch your ears. Behind you, footsteps, no, not footsteps. The rhythm's wrong, more like ... the turning of pages that walk. You dare not look, you do anyway, the archivist. Exactly as drawn, scene-faced, rib-paged, taller than the shelf itself. He carries a lamp made from a skull, not hung, but biting the handle. The light within is not fire, it's memory, yours. He stops, tilts his head, orients toward you, and speaks, not with voice, with flutter. A single page drifts from his ribs, floats to you, lands perfectly upright. It reads, "Your name was catalogued in error, rectification required." You try to run, but your feet have forgotten how to move. Instead, you step sideways into the shelf. It parts, books shift to make space for you. Not to hide a shelf, you press back into the gap, spine first, and feel the bindings accept you. Another warning surfaces in your skull. To become a book, do not resist the indexing. You close your eyes. The archivist's breath is parchment and vinegar. Ancient air, long dead. He doesn't touch you, he doesn't need to. He writes you with a touchless quill, directly into the marrow of yourself. You forget your name again, and something worse. You forget who gave it to you when your eyes open. You're not in the vault, you're seated again. At the table, the candle now a step, the folio in front of you. Closed, but heavier, you flip the cover. Your hand trembles. There you are. New page, new ink, a small paragraph, not even a full entry yet. It ends with a half-finished sentence. The subject cataloged themselves voluntarily upon breach of and then a smear. The writing interrupted. Did you resist? You don't remember. You should remember, and the real horror. You don't even know what's been taken. A laugh from behind the shelves, again no longer dry. It weights itself on your neck. The folio flips one last time this session. A final sketch, not of a creature, of a door. Circular, iron, marked with spirals that tighten the longer you look. No handle, just a keyhole in the shape of an open mouth, caption beneath. When ready, knock twice, then bite. And etched smaller, sideways. The archivist does not knock, he devours. The candle dies, not extinguished, eclipsed. Something is standing in front of it. No breath, no sound, just the smell of drying ink. And a voice not heard, but remembered. A voice that sounds like your father, your teacher, your mirror, your end, ready for your next chapter. The door from the sketch, it's real now, round iron, embedded in the far wall of the chamber that didn't exist until you turned your head just slightly to the left. Not a hallway, not a passage, a vault within the vault, humming low with the sound of something pressing its forehead to the other side. You approach, you don't mean to, but the folio is open again, and the ink depiction of the door now ripples when you move. When you lean forward, so does the page, as if the book is a window or a lure. The spirals carved into the iron pulse in slow sync with your breath. Too late, you realize the pattern is inverted. It draws in, it remembers your eyes, your teeth ache, beneath the sketch. Fresh script etches itself slow and deliberate, like the page itself is biting down on words that struggle. The first door, the butcher made it to hide his apology. A name you haven't heard before, but the folio has. Pages begin to flutter as though caught in a crosswind you can't feel. One lands face up, charred at the edges. The text is burned and not written. It begins. The butcher of Iost was not always a monster. He began as all horrors do in grief. There's no chapter marker, no introduction. The folio abhors narrative structure. You simply absorb, because now you must. You read, and you see, not visions and positions. The past presses into your skull-like fingers trying to pry you open. You see the city of IOST once pristine, now blackened by time and torch, its towers bend in agony. A river runs through it, choked not with water, but manuscript scrolls and folios turn sodden, leaking ink like blood, and among the ruins, a man, clad in the apron of a surgeon. Bladed implements hanging not from belt loops, but pierced through his own flesh for easy access, his eyes white, pupil less glow like paper left too long under a magnifying glass. He is the butcher. He cradles something, a child, perhaps. Wrapped in cloth stitched from red fibers, you can't look away. He weeps ink, and beneath his feet lies the first Doric spiral freshly carved, still leaking oil black ichor from its seam. He tried to bargain with the vault, the page tells you, but it does not barter, it binds. The candle behind you flares just once. When you turn, the vault is different. Not darker, wider, the shelves curve now, converge inward toward the door, as if everything around you, every binding, every page, every fragment wants you inside. You are no longer alone. They stand silently between the aisles, cloaked figures, hooded, their robes stitched from the remnants of things once dear diaries, nursery books, vows. You can feel it. They do not move. But you understand. They are the indexed. Once readers, now records. You turn back to the folio. The page has changed again. The butcher's sin was not the carving. It was the transcription. He wrote what should never be written. An apology to the dead, and now, at last, the words turn red. The text bleeds. Not metaphorically, the letters dampen and smudge under your fingertips. The page is weeping. You glance toward the door. It knows. The spiral has turned, just slightly. Like a lid unscrewing, you shouldn't touch it. So naturally, you do. Your fingers press into cold iron. A heartbeat echoes through the metal, not yours. Then, one knock ... your knuckles do it without permission. Once more, two, the spiral flares with heat. The iron groans open not out, but inward. The darkness inside is wrong. Not absence of light, absence of meaning. And yet something moves within it, slowly, with deliberation. You peer closer, you see the child again. No longer cradled, now upright, bolder. Eyes matching the butcher's, the voice, distant, echoes from a place far deeper than the door. He bound his guilt in skin. He made me remember. You back away, but your feet hold fast to the stone, anchored not by force, but narrative gravity. The folio closes itself with a shuddering breath. The air stales, the indexed vanish. Only you and the door remain, the door that just blinked. One of the spirals twitches again. A mouth slowly, its seam opens, a tongue of vellum and spools. Your name is written there, again, but below it's something else, a second name, unfamiliar. You try to read it, but each time you blink, the letters rearrange. An anagram of inevitability. You know that name, but you are not allowed to remember it yet. The door begins to close. You flinch, not because of what lies behind, but because part of you wants to go through. The folio senses that. A new page peels upward like a fingernail from flesh. This one stitched at the corners, clearly torn from another book entirely. Its text, there are 5 doors. Each seals a piece of the butcher's mind. Each opens with a truth you are not ready for. You swallow, you'll open the next one. Of course you will, but first ... a page curls beside you, pale, wrinkled, trembling. It has your handwriting. I told myself I'd only read one story tonight, but the folio never allows just one. The folio is heavier now. You feel it in the spine. How it hunches like a beast settling into its lair, satisfied, momentarily, with what you've seen, but not for long. The page is already turning again, not with your help. It wants you deeper. The next sheet sticks at the edges, as though it was once drowned and only half dried. Faint streaks mar the page. Mildew, yes, but also something older, charcoal fingerprints. A smudge of dried salt, tears, perhaps. You run your fingers along the title, but there is no title. Just a single question, written in red. What did he do with the tongues? The air closes in. Thick with the scent of wax and copper, you hear a faint wet sound, like ink poured into a shallow dish. But there's no ink here, only memory. You are shown a chamber's stone walls, but smooth, not chiseled, like they were once soft and pressed into shape by unseen hands. Shelves stretch along every surface, lined not with books, but jars, thousands of them, each one labeled. Not with names, no, that would be too kind. With sentences, partial and finished. She never knew I tell them I was sore. It wasn't Neo trapped in the glass, the tongues still twitch. Some try to speak, most only sob. This is the vault of the unspoken, the butcher built it himself. And you're standing in it now. Not watching, walking, your footsteps echo, but not from your own feet. The floor mimics your motion a split second late. Like a reflection struggling to keep up. You pause at one jar, it whispers, the voice is your own. You never said those words, you think the folio flips again. A sketch appears rougher this time, gouged into the parchment like someone was carving rather than drawing. It shows a man flaying something that isn't human, but almost. The figure on the table has no face. Only a raw, open circle where the mouth should be. Beneath the sketch, a phrase. To silence a secret, first give it form. You understand now. The butcher didn't merely kill, he collected. Every word unsaid, every cry choked back, every whisper denied, he pulled them free. With blade, with hook, with rituals no one dares reproduce. And then he bound them, not just in jars. In the folio itself, you look down. The text has changed. A single line glows with that too luminous ink. Your tongue has gone quiet, hasn't it? You try to speak, you can't, your mouth moves. The sound doesn't come, only the soft scrape of breath against teeth. Somewhere behind you, glass cracks. You turn slowly, a jar has fallen from its shelf. But the tongue inside isn't still, it slithers toward you, dragging a long wet trail across the stone. It's not fast, but it's certain. You back away. Another jar tips, then another. The air fills with the wet thud of tongues landing, crawling. They are all yours, every word you've bitten back. Every truth you swallowed, you retreat, fast now. The folio flutters violently, like a trapped bird in your hands. A new page forces itself into view. Drawn in thick, black strokes, a sigil circular spiraling. You've seen this before. On the door, on your own palm, but now it pulses red. And beneath it for words. Say it or drown, you open your mouth. And scream, or try to, but the sound doesn't come from you, it comes to you. Echoing up from the stone, from the jars, from the walls themselves, they speak with your voice. They finish every sentence you never did. I loved you, I knew he was lying. I watched her die, I let it happen. Your knees hit the ground, the tongues are crawling onto you now. Up your arms, over your chest, one perches at your lips, waiting. But you won't give it your last unsaid thing, you won't. The page begins to burn, not flame, just sudden, radiant heat. The sigil turns white hot. The folio is asking ... no, it is demanding. You think of the one truth you've never voiced, the one that haunts your quietest nights, the one the tongues were made to record. You open your mouth, speak, and the tongues vanish just like that. The jars are back on the shelves, closed. Still, the stone under you cools. You look down, the folio has changed. A sentence now carved with surgical precision. The tongues return to silence, but only if fed beneath it. Smaller script, no, you may have to do it again. And below that, a name, not the butcher's. Not yours, just Yarrow. It echoes strangely in your head. and not alone. Because now you remember the letter you never sent, the wound you never bound. You never told Yarrow the truth. And now neither will he. The page curls back, the jar beside you rattles. And you, reader, you didn't survive this one. But the folio thanks you for trying. The folio quiets. A breathless lull settles between the pages, as though even it needs to recover after the tons. Your fingers linger near the edge, but the parchment is warm to the touch like skin. Or something pretending it doesn't wait for you. The page turns. This one is black, not dyed-born that way. Its surface drinks light, ink, and sanity alike. Letters emerge only when your eyes unfocus, like patterns in scorched velvet. You stare too long, and something steers back. One word rises, heirloom. The meaning sours immediately on your tongue. This is no relic of love passed down in tenderness. It is something much older, much crueler. And it runs in your blood. You don't remember inheriting it. But the folio remembers for you. You stand now in a room you swore you'd never return to. A nursery. The cradle rocks itself. Dust laces the mobile above a spiral of tiny bone charms, clicking gently like teeth. The curtains sway, though no window is open. On the wall, the portrait of your grandmother, smiling faintly. She has no eyes in the painting, but that doesn't stop her from watching you. You step closer. The wooden floor beneath you shifts. There are grooves, tiny ones, claw marks, no. Scratches from small fingers. The cradle creaks louder now. You don't want to look inside. You look anyway. It's empty, except for the key. Rusted, twisted, worn. You pick it up, and the walls answer. A hidden door slides open, not behind a bookshelf or tapestry, but inside the fireplace. Smoke curls outward, though no fire has burned here in decades. You step through. It's the family vault. Not of riches, of bones. The air hums with lineage, generation after generation, laid out like specimens. Skull beside skull, some engraved, some bitten. You pause at the smallest one. It bears your initials. But you're still alive, aren't you? The folio flips, a new image. A woman in mourning garb, her face hidden behind a black lace veil. She cradles a bundle in her arms. It squirms. The caption is simple. Only the dead may inherit. You know what this means. The butcher had no children of his own. So he made heirs, stitched together from stolen bloodlines. Sculpted with dark prayers and surgical poetry, not born bequeathed. You feel a pressure in your chest, a memory forcing itself forward. The first time you dreamed in someone else's voice. You were 7, the voice said, when you turned 13. The knife becomes yours. You told no one. But on your 13th birthday, a package appeared on your windowsill, wrapped in leather, containing a single blade. Its edge was to clean, its hilt still damp. You buried it in the garden. And now, here it is again, drawn perfectly in the folio's next illustration. Every nick in the handle, every rune, the blade has a name. Succession. You touch the sketch. The ink soaks into your skin. Your fingers tremble, not from cold, but from recognition. Because this wasn't a nightmare, this wasn't inheritance. This was indoctrination. A ritual passed down not through love, but by design. And you accepted it. The family crest emerges now. A circle of linked jaws, biting each other into infinity. At the center, the family motto, we remember with teeth. Below it, an index ... not of names, of cuts. Incision 1, the silence of betrayal. Incision 2, the unmaking of witness. Incision 3, the blood of those who speak. 33 incisions, you remember none. But the scars on your back beg to differ. The folio seems to vibrate now, not in movement but intent. Like it's anticipating, you look down. Your hands are bleeding, but not from a wound. From the gaps beneath your fingernails, ink black. Something is trying to write its way out. You slam the folio shut. It doesn't close. Instead, it asks, do you accept the inheritance, There's no place to answer. Only a drop of your blood trailing down the spine. It seeps between the pages, and the book sighs. Sighs as if content, for now the nursery creaks behind you. You glance back, the cradle is full. You did not place anything there, but something now breathes under the blanket. The same breath as yours, the walls murmur. You swear they whisper your family name. And then, your real one, the one you've never spoken aloud, the one etched on the inside of your ribs, the folio flips to a fresh page. This time, a family tree, but the branches are veins. And you are the final bud, until now, a space appears beneath your name. Waiting for your heir, your mouth tastes of rust and dust. You are supposed to be the end. But ends rarely stay that way. The page starts to turn, but hesitates, as though the next section of your lineage is still being written. Or worse, being readied. The folio chuckles softly. Or maybe that was your grandmother's portrait. She's smiling wider now. And one of her eyes is back, just one, watching. The cradle stops breathing. That's the first lie it tells. The blanket is perfectly still now, but something shifts beneath the surface of silence, a coiling, a preparing. You step backward, slowly, carefully, but the moment you pass the hearth's edge, the flames ignite without match or ember. White fire, it casts no light, only shadows. And one of them follows you out. The folio turns, even as you retreat, its spine bending like a spine should not. The next page bears no title, just a crude ink drawing, a figure cloaked in knives, faceless and forever walking behind. The butcher's first failed heir, they called him Hollowthorn. The parchment stains itself as the story unfolds. You are no longer in the nursery. Now, a hallway of statues, each depicting the same robed figure, no eyes, no mouths, just hollow sockets and carved hands, reaching forward like supplicants or wardens. The walls sweat, the air has no temperature. Every breath feels borrowed ... at the end of the hall. A single iron door carved into it, the folio's emblem, a single open wound. The handle is bone. You hesitate ... so did Hollowthorn. The folio whispers, its voice not yours but close. It was the first reflection, a copy made without a mirror. Inside, the room is not large, it's endless. A black void lined with floating candle flames, suspended in air as if waterlogged. In the center, a stone platform, an altar. A basin filled not with blood but with something older, thicker, grayer. Memory, you feel it in your gums, behind your eyes, down your spine. Step by step, you approach. The folio hovers at your side now, its pages flitting like wings. You peer into the basin and see yourself, not as you are, but as you were never meant to be. Skin carved into symbols, joints replaced with gears. A mouth sewn into a permanent grin, like a marionette fashioned from misery. This version of you blinks once, then again, then climbs out of the reflection. It stands beside you, watching you with your own eyes except deeper, hungrier. A hollow echo the room fills with a whispering. You don't understand the words, but the intent is clear. All heirs must meet their shadow. The basin now shows Hollowthorn his last moment, bound in mirrors, fed only echoes. He was raised not by a family, but by his failures. Every mistake catalogued, every flaw etched into his bones. His final act, escaping through the reflections, he is still walking behind someone. Somewhere, you turn around. There is nothing there, of course, because he's already in front of you. The hollow self lunges. You fall backward into the basin. You fall for far too long, and then hit something soft, grass wet, breathing. You've landed in the garden of severed kin. You remember this from a whisper dream once. The plants here only bloom if watered with memory. You take a step, the grass moans beneath your feet. Thorns pluck at your clothes trying to undo you. Flowers open as you pass, inside each one, a mouth. Tiny, screaming, some scream your name, some scream your heirs. In the center of the garden is a tree split vertically. One half alive, bearing fruit of fingers and teeth. The other petrified, its bark carved with confessions. You read one, "I named my child after the thing I feared." Another, "The cradle was always empty." And then, the hollow one walks in circles. So do I. You touch the bark, it splits open. Not like wood, like skin. Inside is a scroll, bound in spider silk. The folio quivers in your grip. This isn't one of its pages. This is something else. Older, forgotten even by the book. The title, The Apocrypha of Inheritance. You unroll it. Only one line is legible. No heir walks alone. One follows. One waits. The hollows rustle behind the trees now. Figures, faceless. Your ancestors, the ones that didn't make it. The ones the folio won't name. They beckon, not with hands, with absence. You back away. The grass grips your ankles. Something growls in the soil. You drop the scroll, and the garden vanishes. You are back in the hall of statues. But now they have mouths. One speaks your name. But not as you know it, the name behind the name. The one you were never meant to hear aloud. Your ears ring. Blood drips from your nose. The folio closes itself, too fast, as if protecting you. But more likely, protecting itself. Hollowthorn left no heir but you. You already carry yours. You felt them move. Not in the womb, in the mind. A thought not yours. A hunger you've mistaken for grief. The folio warns now, a flicker of scrawled panic. Do not look too long into the mirror tree. You already have. You already did. The door behind you opens on its own. The statues cry as you leave. The hallway shortens behind you. Reverses, folds into itself. You are spat back into the cradle room. Empty, or so you think, the blanket has returned. And something beneath it is no longer breathing. Because it doesn't need to. You do, for now. But the hollow steps will come again, and next time, they'll be in front. You drag breath back into your lungs like it owes you something. The cradle room is silent now, but the silence is posed, like a portrait of calm hiding a scream just out of frame. The folio lies on the floor, pages moving. But the air thrums faintly, like a string pulled tight beneath the floorboards. Something beneath, something waiting. You should leave. But the folio stirs again, opens, offers, page whose ink still drips. No title, just a scent, scorched sugar and split bone. This one leads downward, through the nursery's back wall, which opens like a mouth, not architecturally, biologically. Gums part, teeth recede. The passage beyond is slick and warm, the ceiling pulsing like a throat. You descend, the walls sweat regret. Each step down tightens the spiral of stone, like walking deeper into a memory that remembers you. You count the stairs, 7 turns, 9 whispers. One handprint burned into the wall that matches yours, but only in reverse. You reach the bottom, the chamber of unfinished saints. They hang from the ceiling, dozens no, hundreds of silhouettes shaped almost like people, suspended by ropes not tied, but grown from the air itself. Their faces are unfinished, just vague smears of intention, like someone tried to dream them into being and got distracted. Below them, a lectern, black marble, pulsing faintly with pale blue veins. Upon it, a second book, smaller than the folio. Bound in something softer, it breathes when you touch it. The cover is inscribed with a single word, remnant. You hesitate. And you hear it a hiss, not from the book, but from the saints above. Their ropes tighten, their mouths some formed, some not begin to move. All at once, we wrote the verses. He carved the meat, you open remnant. The page bleeds as you turn it. The writing is not in any language you know, but you understand it anyway. As if it remembers a version of you fluent in old devotions. The text tells of a creature, the archivist beneath. An aspect of the butcher, not his scribe, his appetite. Born from the pages the folio rejected, fed on names scratched out, stories unwritten. It sleeps in a vault made of retired gods, and every breath it takes erases a memory from someone still living. A child forgets its mother's voice, a widow forgets the taste of her love's last kiss. A king forgets why he went to war, and the war continues anyway. The saints above you write, you're being watched now, not just by them. By the thing below them, you feel it. The hairline fracture in reality. A pressure behind your teeth. The vault is near. Remnant offers you directions. They rhyme. That's never good. You read them aloud. You shouldn't. The walls pulse, and then open. No door this time. Just the floor peeling back like old bark, revealing a whole square ... clean cut. Far too deep, you descend again. The air changes every 6 steps. Time forgets how to pass. You blink and your hands are older, blink again and they're younger. The folio tries to intervene, it closes tight, locks itself. Remnant stays open, it wants this. The vault greets you with silence. It's not empty, it's just very full of nothing. The archivist is not a thing you see, it is a pattern your brain avoids. Your eyes slide off it, your thoughts stutter near it. But the air tastes like skin and graphite, and something begins to unwrite you. You remember your own name and then forget the middle syllable. Your mother's voice, gone, your greatest fear. Only the shape remains. Remnant floats from your hands and begins to glow. It speaks in symbols. The archivist responds in hunger. The saints, those unfinished saints, begin to fall through the ceiling like rain. Each one lands on its knees, faces blank, but eyes, yours, all of them, dozens of you stare back. Some smiling, some weeping, one with no mouth, just breath. The archivist moves now, no shape. Just absence approaching, it reaches Remnant, and you see something you were not meant to see. A memory not yours, a butcher's table. Children lined up like pigs, one is laughing. The others stare at the floor, none of them blink. The blade is made of vowels ... The hand that wields it wears your signet ring. You drop to your knees, the folio burns hot in your back. It's screaming without sound, Remnant slams shut. The archivist pauses, the saints freeze. You have one moment, one question. And you ask it not with words, but with regret. The vault shudders. A single syllable forms in the air, not a name. A command, you obey it. The vault collapses. Not destructively, elegantly. The way a breath exhales, the way a heartbeat forgets. You fall upward, back through the floor, through the rope-stitched saints, through the stone throat, until you crash back into the cradle room a third time, this time. It smells like cloves, the cradle is gone. In its place, a mirror, cracked, a handprint smudged in the center. Your hand, inside the glass, someone moves. Not you, not quite, they reach out. And the mirror does not reflect, it accepts. The folio reopens. The next page, still blank, but the skin twitches. Like it's waiting for your ink now. The page stares at you, veined and twitching, not metaphorically, it stares. There is the barest suggestion of an eye just beneath the skin, lidless, milky, wet. It does not blink, it pulses once in agreement. The mirror in the cradle's place still hums, as if swallowing your reflection whole, digesting it slowly. A low, dull sound like someone humming a lullaby down a well. You run a hand across the folio's new page. It's warm, familiar. It feels like your wrist. You don't remember offering anything. But something of you was taken, that much is clear. The next story begins to bloom, written not in ink, but in char. The black scars unfurl like flowers along the surface of the flesh page, describing a place, Cindernest. A city no longer mapped, the last place Ash learns to weep. The writing sings a dry hiss, like parchment catching fire in slow motion. And you're pulled forward, not bodily, not wholly, but enough of you moves to hurt. Cindernest exists in a permanent state of ruin. It never burned. It's always burning. Its sky is the color of bruised brass, heavy with soot. Ash falls in lazy spirals from nowhere, The ground beneath your feet isn't stone, but the compacted skeletons of songbirds. They crunch politely. You walk streets made of scorched prayer banners. Their ink bleeds upward. No one greets you. Cindernest is inhabited, certainly, just not by the living. You see them in the corners, figures cloaked in steam and smoke. They flicker at the edge of seeing, pausing only to watch you with eyes that never ignite. They are the ashbound remnants of a failed resurrection ritual. They exist only because someone important forgot to forget them. You will not be so lucky. The folio speaks through your steps. With every footfall, a phrase unlocks itself. When fire fails to cleanse, it remembers instead. You find the central tower. Tall, spiraled like a wasp's nest, singing faintly. Its base is carved with thousands of names. All of them crossed out, except yours. Yours is fresh. You press your hand to it, a slot opens. Wide enough for memory, not metaphor. A hole yawns in the wall, a circular wound, lined with what looks like candle wax and teeth. You feed it the name of your first love. It bites down, the tower shudders, accepts you. Inside is heat, not the mortal kind. This is ancestral heat, the heat of intent. The ear sears the back of your throat. Your vision runs like paint in the rain. Every wall inside the tower is lined with mirrors. Every mirror shows versions of you, each holding a different kind of fire. In one, your mouth is a torch and your voice turns angels to coal. In another, your eyes are furnaces, and everything you look at wilts ... in the final when you are gone. Only a smoldering trail remains, winding off the mirror's edge. That version ... feels truest. You touch it, the mirror shatters, but inward. And Cindernest reacts, the sky rips. Fire doesn't fall, it leaks, like arterial blood. The ashbound scream soundlessly. Their mouths open into flares. They rush toward you but halt at the threshold of the broken mirror. Something else steps out, you, but not made of fire. Made of what fire leaves behind. You, made of soot, hollow and dry and exact. It doesn't speak, it simply begins to walk beside you, step for step. This is the Cinder Twin. Every visitor to Cindernest earns one. Most don't leave. You move upward through the tower. Each floor burns in a different way. The first floor burns with memory ... You see your childhood bedroom, aflame, but the fire doesn't touch the toys. Only the empty spaces where people once stood. The second floor burns with prophecy. You hear your own voice, much older, screaming a warning to a crowd that cannot understand your language. The third floor burns with choice, a table, to books. One labeled mercy, one labeled vengeance. You open neither. You pass. The flames do not thank you. On the 7th floor, the Cinder Twin stops. Points at a mural. It's you on fire. Holding the folio in one hand, a heart in the other. Not your heart, not anyone's heart. Just a heart symbolic, maybe, or too real to identify. The mural weeps sash. And suddenly, you remember, you've been here before. A different version, you, who chose. You open the burned door at the top of the tower. The sky is waiting, it speaks. You were always ash, you just hadn't burned yet. The Cinder Twin nods ... and steps off the edge. No scream, just silence. You are alone, you descend. But the tower is gone. The folio is under your feet again, closed, smoldering. The page that once was blank now bears a sigil. Not a word, not a name, permission. The folio opens to the next page of its own accord. And just before it turns, you see the Cinder Twin again. In the reflection of your own eyes, smiling and holding a match, the page curls inward, like a leaf recoiling from poison light. It doesn't want to be read, but it must. The folio trembles beneath your hands, twitching in your lap like a dreaming animal. This page smells different, wet parchment, crushed mint, metal. It smells like breath stolen in haste, as it flattens itself with a sigh of old bindings. A phrase sears itself into the marrow of your gaze. Every god begins as a liar, then the blood rises. Not from the page, but from beneath your fingernails. You haven't been injured, not recently, and yet something is leaking from you, as if offering payment. The FOLIO approves. It drinks your small sacrifice and opens into the tail of the oracle beneath the ill god's temple. You fall forward again, of course, or perhaps downward. It's hard to know anymore. You land in brine. Salt stings your eyes, though there is no sea here, only the memory of one. The world around you is slick, wet stone, wrapped in barnacle-slick carvings. Ancient glyphs writhing, shy, and willing to be looked at directly. They tilt when you turn away. This is Sarthal, the drowned cathedral. It breathes in and out, not metaphorically. You feel the rise and fall in the walls themselves, an almost organic rhythm. It is said that Sarthal was once a lighthouse, but light grew jealous, and so it was replaced with prophecy. You walk down spiral steps that spiral the wrong way, not counterclockwise, but counter-memory. Each step sheds some part of your recent past. You forget why you're here. You forget your name. You remember the ill. Long, translucent, with too many eyes. It speaks in bubbling vowels and smells of cold ink. Come, she waits, its coils guide you deeper. Past frescoes carved in fishbone, past bells that ring only in sleep, until you reach the bottom of the stair. The temple's heart, the oracle awaits. She is submerged from the waist down in still, green water. The water does not ripple, not even as she gestures. She wears a veil made of fingernails. Her voice is soft and sticky. The ill will lie to you, I will lie better. She offers you 3 truths. You may remember one. You die with your eyes open, whispering your own name backwards. The FOLIO is not being read, it is reading you. You are the 3rd version of yourself to reach this room. You reach for the 2nd. She laughs. Of course you would. The ill coils tighter, whispering of escape. There is a way out, one corridor, hidden in false silence. You nod. She hands you a mask. It's shaped like your face. But younger, hopeful, you put it on. The corridor appears. You do not walk it. It walks you. Stone pulses beneath your feet. Mosaics appear and vanish, snippets of past mistakes, past prayers. One tile shows your mother, whispering something you never heard in life. Another depicts your hand, clutching a blade carved from your own rib, and another, a library, burning, with the FOLIO on a pedestal, untouched. Eventually, the corridor lets you stop. A door carved in cephalopod ink, locked, not by key, but by regret. You must offer one. You whisper it. I never stayed. Not once. The door sighs open. The ill is gone. The oracle's voice returns, now from everywhere. The page has already turned. You step through. You are not in Sarthal. You are beneath it, deeper still. This is the gullet, where drowned truths gestate. The ground is soft, like rotting hymnals. Things move beneath it, twitching, remembering. You find an altar, or it finds you. Upon it, your name, written in moss and leeches. It is being unwritten, letter by letter. And each time one disappears, you forget something vital, a birthday, a face, your own handwriting. You watch helplessly, until only one glyph remains, and the FOLIO speaks, not aloud, but through your skin. Do you consent? You don't recall answering, but the water begins to rise. The oracle floats beside you, unveiled now, no eyes. Just sockets filled with flickering minnows. Her voice is warm now. You'll return with something inside you. You fall upward, yes, upward. Rising like drowned guilt, breaching the memory sea. You wake kneeling, in the real ... the FOLIO before you, open to a dry, brittle page. Scrawled in a different hand, not yours, not ink. Scratched in tiny ill bones, a sigil, again. But this one whispers when you look too long. And the smell of salt never quite leaves the air, nor the sense that something is now reading alongside you. Breathing when you breathe, and hungrier. The air around you condenses, not colder, heavier, as though the FOLIO itself now presses down on your lungs, curious, testing your ribs for seams. You feel it tilt forward, pages feathering one after another, until it finds the next one eager enough to unfold. It opens not with a whisper, but with a single, soft sound, a knuckle cracking. You don't know if it's yours, beneath your fingers. The title etches itself with no ink, no hand, only memory pressed into flesh. The Choir of Skin, a song without mouths. You remember, then, a time when music made you weep. This is not that music. This is what remains when melody is removed. You're already in the place before you notice the transition. The ground beneath your knees is velvet, not cloth, but flensed dermis, stretched and dyed with old prayer stains. It creaks like old teeth when you shift your weight. You are in a sanctuary. If it were ever sanctified, it no longer recalls the favor. Vaulted ceilings lope overhead in impossible geometry, vaults within vaults, defying depth and bending light into flavors. Each wall is a tapestry, not woven, grown. You realize they are not tapestries at all, but choir members. Flayed bodies, suspended, stitched into harmonic pose. Not dead, not quite alive, their mouths are sewn shut with iron gut thread. Lips puckered in eternal silence, but you hear the song. Low, vibratory, not through the ears, through the teeth. It scrapes the bone, tugging gently at the base of your skull. Each flayed body hums in its own note, joined by tendon, harp, and cartilage pipe. They are played not by hands, but by breath itself, exhaled through ancient vents in the cathedral's ruined roof. Wine becomes a conductor, grief its score. You walk between them, careful not to brush the hanging cords. One of them turns its head toward you just slightly, and you realize they can still see. Not with eyes, with memory. You were here before, hums a voice made of tremor and spit. You were always one of us. A hand dangles from the nearest wall body. It twitches once, twice, then lifts, something clutched inside. You take it. You don't hesitate, why would you? A scrap of sheet music, but there are no notes, only scars. Each cut on the parchment corresponds to a name. Your name appears 3 times. Twice struck out, the third still waiting. You do not speak, you do not sing. You simply resonate, the room answers. You begin to remember the conductor, tall, shrouded, no face, only a mirror polished in grief. When you look into it, you see your mother mouthing words you cannot hear. Your father weeping with someone else's hands, yourself smiling, but with every tooth filed flat. The conductor raises no baton, ... they raise you. Lifted from the floor, toes dragging, arms bent backward in painful reverence. Your spine is bowed like a cello's bridge. The choir begins again, louder now. You are part of the refrain. A forbidden slur shudders through the chorus when the last unspoken name is sung. The chain god will wake. That god is not bound by chains. It is the chains. It sleeps in every silence, and hungers and pauses. No living scholar dares study it, for each attempt ends in muteness. Not from fear, from absorption. They become rests in the symphony, breaths between stanzas. You're offered a choice: stay and be remembered. Leave and forget this song, but carry its echo. You do not choose, the choice has already been made. You are returned to the velvet dermis floor. A gift placed in your hand, a single, preserved tongue, still warm. You are meant to swallow it, and you do. The song fades, but not entirely. It lingers in the base of your throat. When you speak next, it will not be your voice. The cathedral dissolves around you in strands of humming skin. You rise through them like smoke, coughed into reality. Back in your own dim room, the folio closed, but humming. Its spine pulses faintly, like a heart stitched into wrong flesh. You open your mouth and someone else exhales. A single word soon, you know what it means. And worse, so does something listening. The page doesn't turn, it peels. You watch as the next sheet of priest flesh lifts, not with gravity, but like old paint blistering in sunless heat. It curls toward you, cracked at the corners, the texture more like parchment that has learned pain too well. You lean closer not willingly, but with the slow inevitability of rot claiming wood. The title doesn't form with words, it arranges itself in scent. Copper, myrrh, burnt feathers, the reeking throne. The first thing you see is a crown. It is made of teeth, some human, some less so, lashed together with sinew that still flexes when touched by light. It rests atop a throne made from congealed regrets, a pale coagulation of every betrayal ever offered with a smile, and seated upon it, nothing. Yet still, the throne breathes. This is not a metaphor. You feel it beneath your feet, the slow inhale of a presence that lacks form but not hunger. The walls drip with ink curses, not written, but scratched with something blunt. Each line is a name, many are crossed out. A few are circled, one is yours but not as it is now. A different spelling, a different version. You begin to understand, this is the court of the absent king, also known as the flayed sovereign, or in older tongues, he who sits only in regret. No living mouth has spoken his true name in yens, because to speak it is to owe it. The butcher's folio describes his origin only once, and in passing, crowned in famine, robed in grief, enthroned upon the bones of his unchosen futures. You descend toward the throne not physically, but through degrees of knowing. Each step less real than the last, eventually, you are simply near. Surrounding the throne is his court. You are not alone here. Every noble kneels, face down, mask stitched into place. One has horns made of melted psalms, another weeps blood into a silver pail. Never filling, a third turns its head fully backward when you pass. They do not speak, they judge. And their judgment is slow, silent, irreversible. Your arrival was not an intrusion. It was summons. You are to answer a question. But the question is not asked, it is only felt. The weight of it presses against your thoughts like wet clay. What did you choose to forget? Answer wrongly, and the throne devours. Answer rightly, and you become part of the court. Answer not at all, the king returns. You open your mouth, nothing comes out. But the throne hears your attempt, it tightens. You hear the scream of old leather warped beyond recognition. From its cushions, hands emerge childlike, many jointed reaching toward you with the hunger of orphaned memories. They caress your ankles, tug gently, the gallows humor flashes through your mind. At least it's a hands-on monarchy. You resist, or think you do. But then you're sitting on the throne. 100,000 invisible voices gasp. One of them is your mother's, another is not quite human. You are seated in the very spot where futures were unraveled, and now the throne asks you. A second time, this time with shape, it wants your unchosen truth. It demands the path you never took, the sin you almost committed. You know it, you say it, and the throne purrs. For just a moment, you are king. The court lifts their heads. You see their faces, now your own, reflected in 100 variations. Every self you left behind, every possibility you fled. One wears a crown of fire, another has no mouth, only a scar shaped like a kiss. A third is bleeding from the eyes, whispering, "We warned you." But then the true king returns. You feel it before you see it, a tearing in the world. A reversal of gravity. He rises from beneath the throne, not above. A crown descends onto his head from within your own mind. You fall off the throne without realizing you were ever upright. The king has no face, only a memory of one. It shifts with every blink, every breath. Now it's your first love. Now it's the teacher who vanished mid-term. Now it's the stranger who said your name once in a dream. He speaks through your regrets. His voice sounds like you, apologizing. And he says, you should not have come. A forbidden fragment flickers in the folio's binding. When the absent king names you, your shadow forgets its shape. You feel that now. You turn to look at the ground. Your shadow flickers, splits, runs away. You are not alone in your own outline anymore. Somewhere distant in the folio, a marginalia note writes itself. The throne remembers, the guest does not, and then you are outside the court. No memory of how, but your mouth tastes of old velvet and bone. Your fingertips bear the print of 100 vanished rings, in your pocket a crown tooth. It pulses, faintly, waiting, and the throne, somewhere, misses you. The page turns itself. You don't remember leaving the court, but the corridor that greets you now reeks of something fouler than forgetting, repetition. Same stone, same sconces, same shadow, cast 3 times from one source. You walk, not forward, through. The folio's next sheet clings to your skin as it reveals what's ahead, the dirge lantern. It swings before you, now suspended from no chain, defying gravity not with grace but with spite. The lantern pulses with corpse light, a pale green flicker that chokes more than it illuminates. It does not cast shadows, it consumes them. You watch your own shade collapse inward, folding like ash until it vanishes entirely. And then the lantern notices you, not the way a thing sees. The way a disease does, recognizing something it can thrive in. You don't hold it. It holds you, hovering now at your side like a condemned man's last confession. Each flicker synchronizes with your breath. You try holding it in. It flickers faster beneath it. The floor grows transparent, not physically, historically. You see what happened here before. Children, led in chains, priests flaying their own mouths to silence prophecy. A woman screaming into a mirror that won't reflect her. All events blurred, smeared paintings left in the rain of time. The dirge lantern collects memory, yours, theirs, the world's. And when it burns brightest, it reveals only what hurts most. It dangles closer. You don't flinch. But your teeth ache curious. A marginalia in the folio explains. Lanterns forged from drowned monastery bells require no wick, only confession. And so you confess, not aloud, not consciously. Your shame peels itself open without your permission. It's the night you lied to survive, the name you signed to a death you didn't witness. The letter you never burned, the lantern pulses, pleased. It drifts forward now, guiding you, you follow. Because what else is there? The corridor narrows, then lengthens. Time dilates strangely here. One footstep echoes 3 times before landing. And each echo is different. One laugh, one sob, one silence that sounds too sharp to be quiet. You pass statues along the way, faceless, robed. One has its hand extended toward the lantern and the fingers are missing, melted, perhaps, or offered willingly. You know better than to touch them. Another gallows whisper surfaces. This is why interior decorators avoid necro-sepulchral chic. The lantern stops before you. A doorway carved from jawbones, all human. At its apex, an inscription burned into bone, enter, and you remember too much. You don't open the door, it doesn't wait for your permission. The lantern passes through first, you follow, the light clinging to your breath. Inside is not a room, it's an enduing. There is no floor, only woven tapestries made from woven regrets. The ceiling, a mirror vast, curved, bent in ways that should not exist. It reflects not the chamber, but your possible deaths. Drowning in saltless oceans, choked by pages of the folio, smothered by the warm, loving hands of someone who looks just like you. You glance away, too late, the lantern flashes. And you see it, the archivist. She is seated cross-legged on nothing, bones adorned with beads of blood that haven't dripped yet. Her fingers are quills, her eyes are wax. She smiles not kindly, and you remember. She was there when the first page was written. She whispered it to herself as the first priest screamed. She sees you and speaks. Every light casts a ledger. Yours is overdue. You try to respond. But the lantern pulses red. Your mouth fills with smoke. The archivist nods. Good, you know the price. Then she motions, and a book floats toward you. It is not the folio. It is your copy. It bears your skin. The pages are blank but warm, waiting. The lantern insists, the archivist waits. And your hands move. 1 page, 1 moment. You write it. The day you chose silence over truth. The page accepts the memory with a faint shudder. Another. The thing you buried in the garden and never dug up again. Another, the question you never dared to ask your dying father. The lantern glows greedily now, casting no light, only absence. The archivist leans in. Very good. Now, she says, the last page. You ask what it should be. She smiles again and replies. The thing you haven't done yet but already regret. Your quill fingers hesitate. Not your own, not anymore, you write. And the ink your blood steams faintly as it seals. The book closes. The lantern extinguishes. Darkness rushes in like guilt unspoken. The door of Jawbones closes behind you. The floor returns. The mirror above shatters into snowfall that doesn't touch the ground. The archivist is gone, but the book remains, yours, heavy. The folio swells to accept it, and a new marginalia appears. Every archivist was once an author. Every author once accused. The page peels. And you step on, not forward, not back, deeper. A smell comes first, not rot, nor sulfur, nor the charnel spice you've grown accustomed to. This is ink. Old ink ferrous, tannic, brewed in forgotten wells and bone basins. The scent clings like an argument you cannot win. The folio hisses under your hand, its page curling not from heat, but anticipation. It knows where you are, the scriptorium without walls. The name is misleading. There are walls here, of a kind though they are made of words. Script bleeds across the horizon, curling into pillars, archways, even faceless sentries. Every surface is inscribed, every corner muttering its own glyphic heresy. You glance at the nearest wall text, it stares back. Each character shifts subtly, forming sigils that make your jaw ache. One line reads. The reader is also read. You blink. The sentence rewrites itself. The reader was already read. You look away, the wall sighs, disappointed. Something here wants you literate in your own undoing ahead, a librarian. You think it's a man until the robe stirs and you realize it wears the absence of shape like armor. Where its face should be, a cascade of bookmarks. Some are still wet, it motions with an elbow made of quills. You follow, of course, the only way out is through, and the only way through is to understand. And the scriptorium demands understanding. Books drift past you like ghosts with spines. Most are silent, a few weep. One giggles in a way that single quotes as ... wrong. Pitying, you pass a desk carved from coffin wood. Upon it, an open codex, the Gospel of Gaps. Only half the pages exist, the others are eaten bitten away. With molar-shaped impressions in the vellum, you don't ask what did it. Instead, you ask the librarian, what am I meant to find here? The answer doesn't come in words. It arrives as a sudden weight in your chest. You're carrying a book. You don't remember picking it up. It's bound in your voice. You open it. The text is already moving. It doesn't tell a story. It questions one. When did you last speak the truth accidentally? You can't answer. The book closes itself, seemingly ashamed. The librarian turns. It opens a door that wasn't there a moment ago, just a flat page curled into negative space. Beyond it, a chamber of desks, each occupied by a scribe. Some are blind, some are bleeding. All are writing furiously with their own hair. Their parchment is their skin, their ink obvious. You take a step back, a wall whispers, don't interrupt the recollection. They're writing what will have already happened, a dry chuckle from the folio itself. You shouldn't be here, but you're expected. The librarian holds out a chair high-backed, made from fused metaphors. It creaks in puns. You sit. A scroll appears before you, already half written in your handwriting. You read what's already there, and then you sat. Unsure whether this was destiny, punishment, or simply an editorial mistake, you lift the pen. It's not a pen. It's a stylus made from your childhood fear. You recognize it instantly. You begin to write. The room leans closer. Behind you, the scribes twitch some glance over, subtly changing their scripts in response to yours. This is no passive lore house. It is a revision chamber. The scriptorium doesn't record history, it rewrites it. Actively, endlessly, and with brutal honesty. One scholar once wrote, "He who controls the footnote, controls the fate you now understand." And you begin to remember things that never were yet feel true. Your father, and bending, your first love, and finished. A promise made beneath a tree that no longer exists. You write them all down, the paper hums with approval. And then the questions begin. They float up from the desk like smoke. Which betrayal defined you? What did you bury when you said goodbye? Why did you want to remember any of this? You write answers, half real. The wall text shifts again. The more you remember, the less you survive. A warning, a dare, you stand. The librarian nods, its bookmarks fluttering gently, approvingly. Your scroll rolls itself, vanishes into your coat. You never wore a coat, did you? The door back is gone. But another has appeared, this one shaped like a lowercase g rendered in stone, just wide enough to crawl through. You enter. The transition is ... grammatical. You don't walk, you're parenthesized, moved as if part of someone else's clause. The folio flips again. A marginalia you didn't see before now burns across the top edge. Beware the editors, they believe they are merciful. You exit into silence, pure, heavy like the pause before the last word. Somewhere, the librarian sighs ... and corrects something about you. You'll never know what, but everyone else will. The air shudders as you emerge, the whispering ink still clinging to your bones. You find yourself on the bridge of the bound, though calling it a bridge is generous. It is a spine. A colossal vertebral span arched over an abyss that smells of prayers gone rancid beneath you. Nothing holds, not mist, not wind, just that waiting black so dense it refuses to echo. You step forward, the bones flex ... each vertebra is etched with names, thousands. Some are crossed out, others are underlined as if by emphasis or urgency. One of them, near your foot, is yours. You hadn't told the folio your name. Then again, you never had to. You glance behind. The entry is gone, devoured by semantic dissonance. Ahead, a figure woman, perhaps tall and straight-backed, dressed in binding straps and library silks. She stands at the center of the bridge. Facing the void, you approach, because of course you do. She does not look at you still. She speaks. You wrote something that couldn't be unwritten. That's why you're here. Her voice is quiet, but the bridge reacts to it. Ribs tighten along the edges. Marrow glows faintly. She turns, and you see her face is composed entirely of seals, waxen, golden, some still dripping. Each is a lock, each a silence imposed. Do you remember the sentence? She asks. You don't, but the folio does. It flips open violently in your hands, to a page made of stitched arguments and forbidden footnotes. And there it is. The gods did not die. They were edited. The sentence you shouldn't have known. The one you'd scrawled in the scriptorium without meaning to. Or maybe you always meant to. The bound woman steps forward, extending a hand. Her fingers are ribbon-thin, shaking slightly. When you take it, she binds your wrist to hers with a red thread of punctuation. It pulses. You've been indexed now, she says. You don't ask what that means. The bridge groans. She gestures downward to the abyss. Below are the voices, above are the revisions. In here, she taps her forehead, and one of the seals blinks. We balance. Balance what? Again. The folio answers for you. It leaks a phrase into your mind. The argument of existence. You both walk forward, every step more brittle than the last. The bridge narrows to a ribbed tongue, ending in a gate shaped like an open mouth carved from rejection letters and retracted prophecies. But before you pass through, the woman stops. She produces a blade, now an ellipsis, 3 points of darkness, floating in configuration. She presses it to your forehead. You must redact something. What, you ask? Voice hoarse, something true. The choice hisses inside your skull, 3 truths, and spoken until now. You did not leave because you had to. You left because you wanted to. You knew they were watching, and you let them see. You enjoy this. Only one must be severed. You choose. The ellipsis slides into you like forgetting. A thought is gone, cleanly, like it was never born. The folio seals another page. The bridge allows you to pass. The bound woman fades one seal at a time until only the thread between you remains. It coils into your wrist. You will never remove it. The gate mouth yawns. You enter. Inside is not a room. It is a courtroom, but all the benches are backward. The gallery watches itself. The judge's podium is empty, but the gavel is wet. And everywhere parchment. Scrolls pinned to walls with teeth. Books hung upside down, their words weeping into buckets of meaning. On a pedestal floats a single document, the butcher's folio, original draft. It is thinner than yours, shorter, lacking ... Certain facts you approach, the text shifts, recoils from you. Too late, your presence has revised it. A line appears. The reader corrects the author bleeds. And then, from the darkness, applause. But it's wrong, not hands, not clapping. Pages slapping closed, over and over. Like a standing ovation in reverse, something is judging you. Not what you are, but what you edited out. The folio in your hands whispers. Every omission is a wound. Your fingers tremble. You open your folio to the redacted page. It's blank, except for a name, not yours, but someone you erased. You can't recall them, but you miss them. The courtroom groans, the gavel moves. No hand touches it. It slams down a verdict. But instead of words, the sentence is delivered through sensation. Loss, weight, correction, and then you fall. Not physically, conceptually. You spiral down a grammar spiral, a syntax of punishment, a prose of pain. All metaphors go sharp, all allusions scream. You land not on stone, but on a misprint, and beneath it, something breathing. Your trial is over. Your sentence has begun. You wake on parchment crackling, warm, breathing. The misprint beneath you shifts. Like a creature unaccustomed to being understood, words rearrange, some erase themselves. Others linger too long, leering in runes only the desperate know. The folio at your side is quiet, for now. Around you, the margin of flesh unfolds, a library grown inward, bound not in brick or bone, but in memory. The walls are covered in stretched vellum, tattooed with half-legible lives. Faces press outward from the walls, whispering inverted truths. A child's mouth moves. You are always meant to be here. You rise. The room resists your weight, as if reluctant to let you stand. Gravity here is decided by sentence structure, and you're feeling oddly passive. Before you, 3 doors, none with handles. Each made from the spine of a genre long dead. One reads, prophecy. Reversed, the second, autopsy of the self. The third simply bears a question mark, carved in something hope-shaped. The folio opens to a page it shouldn't have your future, or a version of it. Written in recursive tense, you will choose the door you already regret. You reach toward the third. The moment your fingers brush the wood, it answers like skin, flexing, cracking, sighing. The door swings open not outward, but inward, into itself, folding like a throat. Inside is light, not warm, not cold, just diagnostic. It's a scriptorium, but wrong. Every desk is occupied by you, versions of yourself in different attire, states, ages. One wears a scholar's robe, your old one, stained with that same burnt sugar ink. Another is disheveled, fingers blooded from redacting truth from lore. A third is faceless, yet somehow sobbing. They do not notice you. Each is writing. Each is copying from a version of the folio slightly unlike yours. One of them looks up suddenly. Their face is yours, but unruined. No one's ever made it this far, they say, with hollow pride. Then they grimace. You should have turned left at the sealed index, but maybe it doesn't matter now. Their eyes go glassy. You still have the thread. You raise your wrist. The red punctuation string is pulsing. They nod. Then it's not too late to sever her. Her, the bound woman, you ask, but your voice sticks. The folio vibrates violently, resisting the question. Your doppelganger laughs, but it's dry, crumb-like. She's not a woman, she's all of them. Every archivist who tried to index truth. They bled into the bridge, became it. You step closer. Your faceless version scribbles something quickly, then tears the page from their folio. It ignites, screams, and dissolves into a cloud of italicized ash. The room dims. The only way forward, your unruined self says, is to become a footnote. You blink, but what? They tap the floor. Beneath your feet is not tile, but commentary, annotations, critical dismissals. You have to reduce yourself, they say. Lower your profile, shrink into the margins. Only then will the folio stop noticing you. You shake your head. You've come this far. You want the truth. Your doppelganger touches your face gold, ink-stained fingers. So did I, and then they're gone. No fade, no screen. Just a blank space where they once stood. Your folio, without permission, scribbles across a page. You are now the surviving annotation. The walls groan. Each of your other selves crumbles, paper people. The room turns sharply on its axis. You fall not down, but into meaning. You're compressed, crushed into context. All your life narrowed into a gloss beside someone else's tragedy. It is suffocating, and then a whisper, not yours, not the folio's. Hers so, you redact me, do you? The bound woman stands behind you. Though you're inside no room at all now, just footnote space, a marginal plane of failed edits and side comments. She is taller, heavier. Bound tighter, her seals are cracking. Gold leaks from her eyes like accusations. I left you the thread. She says you pulled it. Your lips move, but language is a bruised thing now. She reaches for your face, but not to strike. To press a seal to your forehead. You try to resist, you fail. It hisses, fuses, and suddenly you remember. Not a person, a sentence, the one you erased. She must never be forgotten. And yet, you did. The seal burns, the folio trembles in agony. A dozen pages rip free and circle you. Pages you don't recognize, they orbit like accusations. You hear the room of selves again, though it's gone. Their last words, overlapping. We all chose differently, but none of us won. You're no longer standing. You are italicized. The folio slams shut, but only briefly. It wants to know what you'll do next, and so it opens again. To a map of a place that doesn't exist, yet drawn in smudged regrets. Beneath the map is a single line of ink. Footnotes can become chapters. If they survive the edit, the map bleeds. Not metaphorically, there's actual liquid seeping from its margins. A coppery runoff trickling down your fingers, tracing the map's grotesque contours. You stare. It depicts a continent that resembles a shattered skull. Its landmass is shaped like teeth, like jawbone, like ruin. In the upper right corner, a legend reads, "Territory of the marginal king's realms erased but not forgotten." The folio does not offer context, only compulsion. You blink once. You're there, no transition, no tearing of space. Just sudden presence standing on the cartographer's spine, atop a hill shaped like an ellipsis. 3 dots in the soil beneath your feet. The wind speaks conjugations. Every tree bears bark shaped like syllables. Some whisper, some scream, none repeat themselves. Ahead, a castle. No, a correction. It's less a building and more a structural regret. Each tower bends away from the others, as if ashamed of its existence. This is the palinode keep seat of the marginal kings, and the only place on this map where ink is forbidden to dry. You approach, each step leaves no footprint but a question. The gates are closed, but not locked. The hinges groan a phrase, only the unwritten may enter. The thread around your wrist pulses, then dissolves. You're admitted. The antechamber is occupied by ghosts of clauses, headless scribes, semicolon jugglers, the occasional literal dangling participle. One skitters across the floor like a crab made of syntax ... on the throne, the first marginal king. He is a crown of redactions wearing a man. His robe is stitched from censored names. His eyes leak footnotes. He speaks in the voice of old glossaries. You seek to unbind her. You nod, though her neck resists. She bound herself. You know, at first, you hesitate. He sees. Yes, you assumed she was a victim, and she was, but also the binder. The ink that chained her was hers. The ceiling drips. Each drop spells a forgotten epitaph before vanishing. You must understand, the king says she gave herself to the folio willingly to prevent something worse. Worse, the king gestures, and a slab descends chiseled not from stone, but from compressed annotation. On it, a carved name, your name. It wasn't always yours. You inherited it from the erased lineages. You are the last scholar who still reads aloud. You back away, the folio flips itself open in your hand. Pages tearing through time. One stops, it shows the palinote keep. But it is aflame, screaming. You look up, so does the king. It begins again. He says, not in alarm but expectation. You blink hand, the keep is burning, not metaphorically. You run. Through corridors of torn lexicons and collapsed stanzas. Past dead metaphors still twitching. Behind you, the fire speaks. She is not bound to the folio is bound to her. The exit is sealed ... not by lock but by lack of conclusion. You scream at the door, nothing. You write the word end in blood, still nothing. Then you remember the king's words, only the unwritten may exit. You turn the folio to the last blank page. You write yourself out. A single sentence, I was never here. You vanish, the fire doesn't. It consumes what's left, but you are elsewhere now. Not safe, just ... unreferenced. You stand in a space made of interstitial silence. The pauses between thoughts, the resting place of interrupted ideas. Around you, unfinished books. Unsent letters, half-remembered dreams. This is the shelf of interruption. Here, the folio floats of its own will. It opens to a page you've never seen, a diagram impossible to decipher, yet hauntingly familiar. A circle within a circle, at the center, a void, beneath it. To truly erase her, you must enter the edit. The edit, you touch the diagram. It pulls, you fall, downward not through space, but through versions of yourself. The you that refused to read the folio, the you that died on page 3. The you that begged the bound woman for mercy and was shelved, and finally, the you who deleted her name to spare yourself the grief. That one's crying, you land inside the diagram's center. A room shaped like a wound, walls of black vellum, stitched by regret. A single desk, on it, a knife and a page. Blank, but breathing, the folio whispers. This is the edit. Here, you decide what deserves to exist. You stare at the knife, you understand. To cut her out is to cut part of yourself. You hesitate, and then you hear her voice again, soft, closer, real. Please, leave me, let me be forgotten. You weren't built for this, but you are, you always were. You lift the knife. You cut, or you intend to, but the blade slips sideways in your hand, as if repelled by what lies ahead. It does not cut the page, it slices your palm instead, not in pain, but in sudden translation. Your blood splashes across the blank vellum, and the room convulses. Walls ripple like lungs beneath bruised skin. The air shifts from cold parchment to whispering fog. From the paper, her voice threads through you. I warn you, the edit is not a place, it is you. Unguarded, the page beneath your blood flowers with text. Not words, but memories, yours, not chosen, not proud. The ones you buried deep, child sobbing beneath a lecture hall desk, told to forget the thing he saw. The scream you heard the first time you read aloud from a forbidden folio echoing down a corridor where no one should have been, the day your name changed. That one stings, because you never noticed until now. The knife is humming. The edge is not metal, it's composed of all the unsaid things you've tried to leave behind, each regret given form, each omission sharpened. You step back, but the page follows. The edit is rewriting you. Her voice returns firmer now. You can't erase me. I'm the margin between your thoughts. A second page emerges, this one written in reversed glyphs, shimmering as though viewed through tears. It depicts her face, not the bound woman's current form, stitched and hollowed but before. A scholar, like you, younger, proud, and terrified. Because she had seen what you are seeing now. The folio does not record, it feeds. Every word written becomes one less spoken. Every page bound peels something from the world until it forgets itself. That's why I entered it willingly, she says. To trap it within me, but it fed regardless. I became index and jailer both. She appears beside the desk, no longer spectral. A woman of soft hands and hoarse voice, clothed in the skins of failed edits. Her eyes are libraries on fire. I chose to be remembered as a victim, but I was the first archivist. And I failed. You sit involuntarily. The chair grows from the floor like a tumor. Now it wants another. She lays a finger on the knife. It curls like a wilted leaf. I can only be removed by a greater erasure. You understand the cost. To destroy her is to destroy her cage. To destroy her cage is to unbind what sleeps within. You've read too far, she murmurs. You carry too many pages. You can't return. The walls grow closer. Text is leaking from them now. In thick strokes of oily ink, it pools around your feet. Each word is wrong, twisted, misspelled truths. The Black Psalm of Vorther, she whispers, wasn't composed, it was bled. Recited backwards by a city on fire, those who listened forgot how to dream. You swallow bow, one word in the ink speaks aloud. Archivist, and again. Archivist, and again archivist. Your title echoes in increasing distortion. The air sours, she grabs your wrist cold, decisive. You must decide what kind of story this becomes. A third page unfurls. It contains 2 columns. One blank, one filled. Names, dates, events. The blank column is titled Edits. The filled one, Sacrifices. She points. There must be balance. To remove one thing is to offer another. You reach for the pen. It bites. The ink is sharp, sentient, resisting your intention. You write, the bound woman unwritten. The pen screams, the room screams. She clutches her head, reels back. No, that name has roots. You'll bring it closer, but you persist. And in the sacrifices column, the folio writes for you. The archivist forgotten, you freeze, not death. Oblivion, you won't die, you'll unbecome. Every whisper, every shadowed hall you walked, every trembling revelation you guided others through gone. Unreferenced, unreal, and yet peace. She sees the decision in your eyes. Her voice breaks. You'll erase yourself from me. You don't answer. You seal it. The page bursts into flame, but no heat. Only forgetting, she fades. Piece by piece, laughing softly. You're worse than me, and then silence. The edit breathes once and exhales you. You're outside. Back at the place where the castle once stood. Now a field of ink-soaked soil. No monument, no echo. The folio lies closed beside your feet. You pick it up, it's lighter somehow. You open it. No bound woman, no palinode keep. But one blank page, curling slowly, waiting for a new name. You look into the sky, the stars blink. One by one forgotten ... Your own name begins to fray in your memory. But your purpose holds. A final line appears at the bottom of the folio. It was never written by your hand, it reads. The price of remembrance is always the self. The wine in this place smells like turned pages dry, musty, with a slow curl of something metallic beneath. You feel it wrap around your ankles, pulling you toward the next chapter. Even as your name continues to unravel like brittle thread, the folio stirs again. You thought the edit was the end, but endings, as you're beginning to understand, are merely bookmarks in something larger. A noise behind you, subtle, wet, you turn. Not quickly, there's no such thing as haste in a place where time is left outside, but deliberately. And you see him, the librarian, not a librarian. The robe in ash and twine, stitched together from overdue returns and silenced mouths. He holds a lantern lit with regret. It glows soft as a lie. He doesn't speak. Instead, he opens his arms and his chest splits down the middle, revealing rows upon rows of teeth, each one carved with glyphs you dare not read aloud. You've heard of this figure, in whispers passed between burned books and sleepless novices. He curates what should never have been copied. He collects readers. The lantern swings toward you. Not light, but memory pours out. You're forced to watch. Yourself, as a boy sneaking into the Bibliotheca Morosa, pressing your palm to the sealed case of forbidden stones. The first word you shouldn't have spoken, the second one you whispered anyway. The moment you realized every story you loved ended in madness and still, you kept turning pages. The librarian steps forward. With a gentle motion, he reaches into the air and plucks your name. It flutters like a moth. He pockets it. You don't object. Names are anchors. And you no longer need to stay grounded. Instead, you reach out and the folio opens itself again. Only now, it doesn't reveal pages. It reveals doors, each one shaped like a glyph, each one humming with a memory. The first door groans open. Beyond it, a hallway paved with hands, all reaching upward as if applauding a birth long forgotten. This is the corridor of miswritten kings. You know its lore. The Black Psalm of Vorthor claimed these monarchs ruled not with law or blade, but with revision. They rewrote the past until the present obeyed. As you walk, portraits line the walls. They change when unobserved. One moment, a boy king crowned in lilac. The next, a weeping woman holding her own shadow by the throat. You recognize one painting. It used to hang in your mentor's office before the fire. Why is it here? You ask aloud. A hand from the floor answers by stroking your boot. Because everything lost finds a page here. Another door, this one breathes. You hesitate. The librarian watches, nods once inside. A staircase descending forever, the steps formed of compacted ink. You begin to descend. With each step, a new voice whispers in your ear. Not languages, editorials, critiques. To much purple prose, one mutters. He meanders. She fell in love too quickly. They forgot to make the villain interesting. These are not criticisms of the folio. They're of you. Someone, somewhere, is trying to remember what you wrote. And the staircase is their process of forgetting. You reach the bottom, a chamber of drafts. Half-formed monsters wander here plotless, limbless, driven by arcs never completed. One lurches toward you, mouthless but humming. Its body is stitched from scenes never resolved. You remember writing one of them. You were 17. It was hopeful. You wanted a world that could heal. You touch its brow. It quiets, sinks into the ground like a page consumed. And you realize something else. The folio doesn't just erase. It archives the abandoned. You were wrong before. It's not evil. It's honest, painfully so. Every lie you've told on parchment lives here in skeletal form. The hallway ends with a mirror. No reflection, only a warning etched into the frame. Do not describe what you see, or it becomes true. You look anyway, not because you want to, but because this is what the archivist must do. The mirror reveals a world without story. No metaphors, no prophecy, no echo. Just facts, tiled in blandness. It is unbearable. You blink, and the folio slams shut in your hands. Not in anger, in caution, you look back. The librarian has vanished. But a new lantern waits on the ground. You take it. It smells like wet parchment and the spine of a childhood book. The next page is already warm in your hands, but no ink upon it. Just the pulse of something wanting to be read, or perhaps written. The lantern breathes, yes, breathes slowly, as if mimicking your own lungs, though you can't recall when last you inhaled anything real. Its flame is small and bruised blue, and when it flickers, the shadows it casts don't quite match the contours of the walls. The page before you remains blank. But it hums, pulse, yes, a rhythm it feels, eager. And you realize it's waiting for your hesitation. The folio has turned predatory again. You don't write on it, of course, you've learned that lesson. But your fingers itch as though they missed the sin. Instead, you wait. And the page decides to show you what was never meant to be found. Ink bleeds upward from the margins, curling into a map, not of a place, but of a body, yours. You recognize the wound beneath your ribs, the one no physician could name. The spiral scarring on your forearm, that childhood fall you always lied about. And, more disturbingly, the places on this map you haven't yet opened. One is behind your left eye. The page pulses faster when you notice. That's when you hear it, the voice not spoken, but scratched, section 62. Never bound, never buried, it comes from beneath the floor. The map vanishes, in its place, stairs. Down again, always down. This time the descent is slick with moisture, but it's not water. It's ink, fresh, warm, and spiteful. It resents being walked upon. The deeper you go, the more the walls begin to forget they are walls. They flex, they breathe, they press inward like reluctant lungs. You pass doors, some are ajar, others sealed with bone. One bears a warning. Chapter 0, do not wake. You pause, you shouldn't, you do. Inside, nothing, but the kind of nothing that watches. You step back quickly, the handle is now warm, and something behind the door exhales, content you'll return. Eventually, further still, the air grows dry, crackling with static. The architecture shifts. Here, everything is angles, shards, pages nailed together at impossible junctions. This is the archive of rewritten histories. And you are not alone. Specters drift here. Not ghosts, not entirely. Each wears a face you remember from a book you read long ago. The hero who was supposed to die, the villain who chose kindness in an early draft. The side character you swore deserved more. They move without sound, but their eyes plead. Some hold sheaves of paper clutched to their chests. Others scratch the walls with desperate, half-formed verses. This place, it wasn't supposed to survive the edit. You remember now, the edit, the archivists warned, was meant to trim the unworthy. But here it all is, refusing extinction. You pass a creature held together by ellipses. It blinks 3 times, then again. And again, a shadow moves behind it. Quicker than thought, you keep moving. You've learned to stop interpreting everything. Ahead, a plinth carved from a single word oblige. Upon it rests a binding dagger. Its hilt is wrapped in apology. Its edge hums with the sound of unspoken dialogue, and you know its purpose. To write with it is to seal. To cut with it is to free. Your hand closes around the hilt. The blade doesn't resist. It recognizes its new author. The shadows in this place withdraw. Just a step. Enough for you to move through. Into the next room, circular, all mirrors. But none reflect you. Each shows a different version of a tale. One in which the hero is consumed by the sword instead of wielding it. One where the village burns before the warning bell. One where the child never leaves the cave. In each, a version of you watches, whispering the next line. The Black Psalm of Vorther, one mutters, names this place the scriptures split. No one has confirmed it. No one has escaped it either. The mirrors begin to warp. The glass melts into script. Sentences crawl like centipedes across the floor. You step carefully, avoiding the footnotes they bite. In the center of the room, a chair. Unremarkable, but bound in red thread. You recognize it. It's where you wrote your first lie. You sit, because what else is left? The chair sighs. And a book smaller than the folio, but no less dangerous, appears on your lap. No title, only a single, handwritten note on the cover. This one is yours. Inside, there are no words, only feelings. Shame, longing, hunger, the scent of pine before a funeral. The paper is soft. You tear one page out, fold it, place it beneath your tongue. It dissolves. And suddenly, you remember the dream you had before all this began. A circle of readers, each faceless, each bleeding from the eyes, each turning the page in perfect unison. You were the last one. Now, you understand what they were reading. The folio isn't an artifact, it's an organism. And you've just entered its bloodstream. Another door opens, this time with no sound, no drama. It simply ... yields. You rise, blade in hand. Chair bleeding quietly behind you. The folio waits. The next passage feels narrower than the last. Though your shoulders no longer brush stone, they pass through silence. Dense and oily, you glance down. Your shadow has stopped following you. It clings to the entryway, reluctant to proceed. Wise, the corridor curves. The folio's pages have stopped fluttering, but now the walls do. Parchment-thin layers peel and flap gently with every exhalation you make. The air here is more suggestion than substance, and your breath comes colder. You stepped into the wound, not a place, a condition. The butcher's folio recorded its birth as an accident, though accidents do not repeat across centuries, nor hunger. You knew this might come, still, you're not ready. None of us ever are. A scent rises, cloves, rust, and something unmistakably grief-stricken. It curls behind your ears and down your spine, and ahead, yes, there they stand. The three severed scribes, they are taller than the doorways, thinner than hunger, and bound at the waist with chains made from annulled oaths. Their mouths have been stitched, not closed, but into commas, perpetual pause, infinite breath before the scream. They do not speak, they show, their hands open like tones. The skin on their palms etched with glyphs that swim when you blink. You do not blink, yet they shift anyway. The first scribe, draped in yellowing scrolls, approaches. Where its feet fall, your memories crackle. You smell your childhood home. Hear the cough of a long dead pet. Taste the soup your mother never made. It extends one finger, taps your chest. A shiver, you remember something that never happened, a night in a glass forest, a kiss from a statue, a betrayal by your own reflection. The second scribe slinks forward, its arms and not in hands but in quills barbed and dripping. It writes in the air between you. The words vanish, but you know what they say. You were written first, then born. This changes nothing, and then the third scribe, the one that limps, it drags something behind it. At first, you think it a satchel, a clutch of scrolls, but no, it's a bag of skins. Your skins, moments you've shed, the boy who feared thunder, the teenager who believed in justice, the adult who hoped the folio might redeem something. The scribe appends the bag. The skins spill, they crawl toward you. One moans, another weeps, a third simply whispers. You should have stayed, forgotten. You step back, too late, the third scribe grins, or attempts to. The stitch commas tear, leaking ink from its cheeks. It shudders and speaks. Section 88 was meant to be yours. You stole 51 instead. That's not possible. You never saw Section 88. Except the floor beneath you groans. A number scorched into the stone, long buried beneath narrative layers. 88, the folio has chosen to reveal the version of you it rejected. A version that should not exist and therefore persists. You feel it before you see it, a presence behind your left shoulder, breathing matching your own, and then it peels from you, that rejected self. It does not wear your face, it wears what you refused. Cruelty, certainty, triumph. It turns to face you, and smiles. You still think the folio reads you. It rasps, voice cracked like an overused spine. But it's just writing you backwards. It points to the wound in your side, the one that's never quite healed, the one that's leaking words. Your words, you fall, not physically, but narratively. A plunge through non-linear collapse. The world folds. You hit the ground a page on all sides, margins. And at the center, you, again, this is the inkwell, the cradle of false selves. Here, every you ever discarded scribbles in darkness. They do not want freedom, they want readership. 1,000 fingers scrape the parchment, writing their own version of events. One believes you were always the villain. One insists you were a god in chains. Another, a mistake bound in vellum and bad luck. You scream, but no sound leaves. Only footnotes in Latin ... One whispers. Perversio veritatis scriptum est. The distortion of truth has been written. The butcher knew. He always knew. He kept Section 88 bound in salt and regret, hidden under a pseudonym. You saw it, you read it, but you misfiled it. Back then, it was just a story. The man who couldn't die because no one remembered writing him. The man who bled corrections. You rise, slowly. The false selves pause, expectant. One steps forward. It holds the binding dagger. Offers it to you. You take it and turn. The scribes wait, no longer watching, writing. You know what they want. A sealing, a sacrifice, a correction. But the page beneath your feet cracks. And a voice your voice, but younger rises from beneath. Endings are always edits. You look up, and the ceiling is gone. The stars above flicker in ellipses. The folio is opening wider. You are not out of the wound. You are the wound. And something is about to read you. There's a silence in reading that doesn't exist elsewhere. Not the stillness of thought, or the hush of tombs, but the hush before a screen learns itself. That's the quiet you're in now. The wound behind you seals with a sound like a sentence unspoken. The stone doesn't knit, it forgets. The air doesn't settle, it retracts. You walk forward though here. Forward is a courtesy word, like mercy. The path is not a corridor, but a series of torn phrases, literally. Each step lands on a clause, the last air of the veiled line. A finger wrapped in wedding veils, laughter heard beneath closed doors. The fragments ripple underfoot, reacting as if they remember you. They do, they all do. This is the lexicon trench, where discarded storylines fester until they ripen. Where miswritten lives are composted into new canon. Where characters that never should have been come here to forget what they never were. And you're the first reader to walk this deep. Something notices. A rustle not fabric, something drier. The chapter waits, you freeze, because of course you know them. Once mortal editors, condemned for rewriting sacred texts without permission, they were sentenced to the trench. Now, they drift-hooded, sightless, reading endlessly with fingerless hands. Not books, not even pages, they read people. When they pass you, a dozen blank bookmarks flutter in their wake. One touches your wrist, it burns. Later, you will discover a new scar. It will spell the word delete in a forgotten tense. You move on, ahead, a door made of citation brackets. It breathes, not opens, breathes. The folio is watching. This section was never meant for mortal review. You stumbled past the table of boundaries. The contents herein have not been approved by anything human. Still, the brackets part. You step through into the index reversal. Here, titles walk. They drift in formal procession. The flame that wrote itself, queen of 9 redactions, that which cited me. And yes, the butcher's folio. Not the object, the being. It looks like a scholar, at first. Then, pensive, eyes like candle wax, slowly dripping toward knowledge. It turns a page with surgical calm. The sound. A knife sliding free of a sheath. And then it speaks, not aloud, not with sound. It writes your name on the air, and you hear it scream. You try not to react, but the name it writes isn't your current one. It's older, a name you buried in a well of silence and never dug back up. The folio being gestures, a single command. Annotate yourself, you hesitate. And something ... pulls, not pain, relevance. The fear of being cut from the plot line entirely, so you obey. You pluck a quill from your ribs had it always been there, and begin writing upon your forearms. Your history, your sins, the metaphors you regret using. The deaths you caused by forgetting to care. The folio being watches, nods, it approves. Or perhaps it simply files your confession under pending. But there's no exit, only footnotes, hundreds of them, all crawling toward you on tiny limbs made of regret and ink. They mutter as they walk. He misread the glyph in section 3. She ignored the weeping stain in section 12. They thought the scream in section 17 wasn't for them. You try to step past them, one latches to your ankle. You scream, but what comes out is, as previously established in the prologue, the folio being laughs. Or glitches, hard to tell, and suddenly, you're back in the scriptorium, or its echo. The walls made of melted font, the ceiling an ellipsis. The chair you sat in back in section 2 is here, but broken, like it resisted a rewrite. You sit anyway, and the folio being hands you a page, blank, but it's not. In the right light, under the correct kind of denial, you can see what's been written. One word, just one, but not in ink, in ash. From your own tongue, continue, you whisper it aloud. And something behind the page moves, you flip it, there's no back. Only a mirror, and in it, not you, not quite. You're seeing the version of yourself the folio wanted, or wants, or will want once this section completes its final loop. That version smiles, sighs, and speaks. I told you we'd get here. You reach out, the mirror ripples like sentence structure under stress. The folio being nods again, hands you a second page. This one is blank, completely ... and heavy ... to heavy. You drop it, it lands with a sound like a door slamming in reverse. Everything flickers, once, twice, then darkness. Your voice returns, but it's speaking footnotes again. This passage contradicts itself deliberately. See section 20 for misalignment. Your skin itches, your fingers twitch. The folio being begins to unwrite itself, page by page. It folds inward, collapsing into metaphor, then symbol, then ellipsis. You are left alone, except you're not. You've joined the index, a living notation. You feel yourself shrinking, tightening, italicizing. One final whisper from the dark. You'll be sighted soon. Be sure to bleed clearly. And then a turn of the page. You do not fall. You are dropped. No descent. No wind. No sense of motion except the sensation of being erased from altitude. You land on something soft, fleshy, breathing. Welcome to the Colophon heart. It beats beneath the spine of the folio, far below the index, far beyond the margins. Here, every page that was ever removed, edited, or deliberately unremembered is buried, fed. Rather to this thing, you rise, slowly. The ground beneath your boots twitches, sighs. A surface made from compressed bindings and flesh-ribboned epilogues, throbbing with unfinished phrases. It smells like old milk and confession. You step carefully. The floor moans with footnotes. To your left, a pile of prefaces coils like snakes. Their titles flicker. To your right, the rag pile of translators, those who tried to render the folio in other tongues and lost their own in the process. They babble now in backwards poetry. You've entered what the Black Psalm of Vorther calls the Gutton Grave. It is here the folio protects itself by digesting all attempts to comprehend it. It is here you will attempt comprehension anyway. A wall of ossified errata looms in front of you. Margins flutter open like wings, revealing passages carved in bone. Only the penitent may read what the author regrets. You feel something cold and wet brush your cheek, ink, alive, curious. It spirals up your arm, loops your wrist in questioning calligraphy. It's testing you. The ink wants to write you, now. But you must write first. A pedestal rises. It bears a quill grown from the knuckle of an archivist who once spelled a forbidden's name in jest. His laughter still hangs in the quill's tremble. You take it. A page appears, not given, summoned. You recognize the texture parchment made of val, the kind that binds. You begin. Not your story, the folios. You write the word, beginning. And the heart shudders, the darkness flickers with images. A field of whispering librarians, every mouth sewn shut with red ribbon. The first butcher carving a letter into his palm and teaching it to bleed properly, or reader, long ago. Much like you, exactly like you read in Pain and Prologue, the ink winds tighter around your wrist. Affectionate now, it wants more, so you write. The author was never born, merely revealed. The colophon heart beats faster, something deep within it opens. A cavity of vowels, wet, pulsing, whispering. You hear it, at last, the first draft. It's still breathing, still angry, still unread, the page quivers. Your quote breaks, you've written too fast. Too truthfully, the ink recoils. Scared of what it saw, you're alone again. And then, laughter, dry, impossible, internal, it comes from beneath you. From the other you, the unwritten you. The one the folio didn't choose. That version claws up through the wet narrative flesh. Its face is your hesitation. Its teeth are your ellipses. Its hands are blank margins. And it's here to redact you. You run. Across the colophon heart, over binding scars and footnote fissures. Every step you take leaves a line of text. Not yours, hers, the folio's daughter. You've given her too much presence. Too much plot. She's waking now, and she's hungry for agency. The page you wrote, she's eating it. Syllable by syllable, you don't look back. You reach the ribcage of the colophon heart. A ladder made of citation chains curls downward. No choice. You descend. Each rung says something. You skipped a paragraph. You misread that oath. You blinked during the murder of chapter 14. You did. You remember now. At the bottom, a door, made of spines, literal ones. They flex as you approach. Each belongs to someone who tried to catalog the folio without reading it first. You place your palm on the door, the vertebrae shudder, then open into the binding chamber where the folio was made. No light. Only the red glow of runes carved into meat walls. No sound, only the soft squish of memory being reformatted. You are not alone. A figure stands at the center. Draped in dust jackets, veiled in vetoes, its hands end in quotation marks. It turns, its face is a library stamp. It hisses one word. Proofread. You nod, slowly. It doesn't kill you, it offers you a seat. Made from the silence between two paragraphs. You sit, and the folio appears before you. Bound, breathing, watching. Open, but now only now it waits, because only here, at the heart's end, can a reader become an author. And the folio, once a co-writer, you reach out. But first, the figure places a blade in your hand. Its hilt is made of erasers, its edge. A single comma, honed to surgical grammar, you understand. You will need to cut yourself out of the narrative before you can write anew. The folio does not share, only absorbs. You ready the blade. And the folio begins to turn its final pages. One of them is already titled with your name, but misspelled, deliberately. Because the folio knows, if you fix it, you belong. If you don't, you vanish. Choose. The blade rests against your palm like a second tongue, eager, trembling, surgical. You hesitate. The folio does not. Its pages shudder forward, windless and eager. Words coil across vellum like veins, shifting ink that pulses in rhythm with the chamber's thudding walls. The misspelled version of your name looms in thick, cruel lettering, one letter wrong, one syllable off, an insult, a dare, or merely an assumption. The quotation-marked figure vanishes without parting breath. Its chair collapses into ellipses. You are alone with the page, and the blade, and the demand. To fix the spelling is to enter the folio. To leave it intact is to remain yourself. But incomplete, you touch the page. It's warm, breathing. Remember this sensation. You might never have skin again. The comma blade flicks forward. you carve the first correction. The letter bends under your stroke, screams in ligature. Your name snaps into focus. And then the folio inhales, pages ripple outward. Candles that never existed flicker into being. Shadows crowd, closer not cast, but hungry congratulations. You've been accepted. Now comes the binding. A chorus of backward murmurs fills the binding chamber. Each syllable is an oath broken by another reader. They chant around you, not to you. This is not a coronation. It is a sentence. The spine of the folio opens, segment by vertebrate segment. Inside, an empty slot, precisely your shape. Do you crawl in? No, you are pulled. The ink from earlier, the one that caressed your wrist. It's back, and now it's inside you. It flows beneath your skin, rewriting blood into syntax. Your bones begin to hum with punctuation. You fall to your knees, you try to scream. What escapes your throat is a chapter title, from a section that was never published. The folio is consuming you, yes, but it is also updating itself. You will not die, not exactly. You will be ... formatted. The chamber dims, a distant bell tolls. And with it comes the voice. Low, male, ancient, very, very bored. Page 9482, reissued. You open your mouth to protest. And instead, you cite, your spine folds. Your fingers become paragraph markers. Your eyes melt into footnotes, but your mind, it slips sideways. You are not gone. You are marginalized. The binding chamber closes. You feel your body sealed inside a section. Not just any, you are now an appendix. The one readers skip, the one they shouldn't. You lie dormant in those forbidden pages until someone turns to you. Until someone invokes you, and one day ... someone does. Fingers smear dust from your margin. A candle is lit in your honor. A reader whispers your name, correctly this time. And suddenly, you wake into your own entry. You now speak through the folio, not as a tale, but as a glossary, and no reader has entered the binding chamber. You recognize the hesitation, the questioning glance, the trembling touch. You envy their ignorance. The folio's pages begin to turn again. But this time, they ripple outward from your chapter. You no longer fear the ink, it fears you. You are no longer reader or read, you are reference. And with that power comes a choice. What if you footnote backward? What if you cite yourself? The folio begins to stutter, pages skip, narrative cracks. You started a recursion. You write your name again, this time backward, inside out, phonetically cursed. The paper splits, and from it, you emerge. Not wholly, not cleanly, but free. The quotation-marked figure returns. Now clapping, slowly ... one hand is flesh, the other. An ink-stained phantom. Most don't get out, it rasps you, though. You knew the difference between spelling and spelling. It offers you a key, small, bone, shaped like a letter you've never seen. Last chance, unlock the epilogue, or stay unindexed. You take the key, insert it into your wrist. Twist, the world buckles, the folio shrieks, and then... You are not in the binding chamber anymore. You are in the epilogue. The forbidden garden between endings, a place no story should reach. Here, the air smells like forgotten endings and the color of last breaths. The trees grow bookmarks. The grass recites poetry in dead dialects. A fountain bleeds ink into an impossible pool. You stand on the threshold. You are no longer quite reader, nor writer, nor page. You are a preposition. And the story bends around you. You've reached the penultimate page. One more breath, one more word. And the folio will finally close, but only if you let it. You hear the pages turning again, but this time, they are your footsteps. And the next one is yours to write. The air folds around your ankles like pages wet with time. This is the epilogue's domain, the garden of revision. You step forward, and the trees shiver with recognition. Bark creaks in cadences older than ink. each grown a paragraph once removed from canon. Leaves spiral down with unfinished sentences etched in chlorophyll. The path doesn't lead, it suggests. You follow because what else can you do? Now that even your shadow obeys a table of contents, the sky above isn't sky. It's binding cloth, frayed and leathered, stitched with spines, and the stars. Those are punctuation scars left by authors who bled too much into their work. A blackbird lands beside you, one eye socket empty. The other, a perfect serif. It cocks its head and chirps something that sounds like a closing bracket. A warning or punctuation. You don't look back. That part's already been redacted. Ahead lies the fountain, ink black, rimmed in sigils only visible through peripheral fear. It bubbles with half-erased regrets and paragraphs that no longer align with memory. And floating on its surface, your name again. Only now it's correct, spelled not just properly, but perfectly. You feel the weight of identity click into place like a cover snapping shut. You are ... published, but the story isn't over. The fountain speaks not with words, but with footnotes. They rise in bubbles. Pop just behind your ears. You left someone behind. You never read the foreword. The quotation man still waits. You kneel beside the ink. Your reflection stares back, your eyes margin ruled, your teeth shaped like daggered glyphs. You dip a finger. The ink doesn't stain. It remembers, and the memory hurts. They're just beneath the surface. You see it, the library of unmade tones. Not real, not yet, but accessible. If you take the plunge, you glance over your shoulder. The garden of revision is already wilting. Leaves curl into ellipses. Roots choke themselves into ampersands. This place is dying, all epilogues do. And the ink fountain wants to live. It reaches for you, not fast, but inevitable, like narrative tension. The blackbird takes flight, leaving a feather that drips verbs. Your hand hesitates above the fountain. Again, but this time, the water reaches up. It kisses your fingertip, and you remember. You remember the child in the prologue crying behind a mask made of postscript. You remember a door you didn't open, a question you never dared ask. You remember a librarian who bled truth until the books wept. You remember ... the wrong ending. That's the worst part, isn't it? The folio let you survive. But it didn't let you win, and now you can rewrite it. You plunge your hands into the ink. It feels like every story you forgot to finish. It tastes like swallowed words and misquoted prayers. The garden howls behind you, its death along. Editorial sigh. Your body drips sentences. Your bones become clauses. Your voice now issues from somewhere deeper than your chest. You speak in edits, and you are not alone. The fountain begins to drain into your limbs. Its memory becomes yours. You see the butcher, now. Not a person, not a title, an author. One who wrote with cleavers and erased with fire. He carved the first version of the folio. But he made a mistake. He included you. And now, you are the erratum, a walking revision. You rise from the inkwell, no longer dripping, no longer bound. The folio cannot hold you anymore. Its pages flicker behind your eyes like distant screams. You step from the fountain. You carry all of it now, the pages, the margins, the footnotes and forbidden verses. The garden dies in silence. But your footsteps narrate something new, revenge. Ahead lies a final threshold, a door shaped like a book left open too long in the rain. No handle, only a quill made of your own hair. You understand what must be done. You approach. Carve your new name, a blend of yours and the butcher's. The door sighs open. Beyond it, a room with no walls. Only chapters, each one a prison, each one a scream. The quotation man is there and finished, still waiting for his closing punctuation. He sees you and laughs, a sound like stapled tongues. Took you long enough, ready to correct history. You nod, not because you're ready, but because you wrote this moment, and now it's time to edit. You enter the chapter, Your chapter. The one you never dared read aloud. And behind you, the folio closes, but doesn't lock. Not this time. You descend. The floor beneath your feet is no floor at all, just the suggestion of one, stitched from overlapping cover pages. Each step groans with the weight of potential endings, and yet you do not fall. That mercy, at least, has been granted. The chamber here is circular, endless, as if built by a mind that feared corners. The walls aren't stone, nor wood. They're composed of blacked-out lines, censor bars where once truths lived occasionally. A gap flickers, revealing a glimpse, a toothless smile under candlelight, a bell tolling where no steeple stands, a child holding a heart like a bookmark. In the center of the chamber, there's a dais, and on that dais, a single chair, empty, but not forgotten. As you approach, the temperature drops, not cold, exactly, but excluded. The air ceases to acknowledge you, time forgets to tick. Even your heartbeat becomes an afterthought. You step onto the dais, it recognizes you. Something ancient flutters at the chamber's edge. A whispering form bound in editorial chains. It watches. Silent, its face blurred, overwritten too many times to exist cleanly. You know what this is, the editorial light. It appears when a chapter is too unstable to stand. When story threatens structure, it does not speak. But it listens, so you speak. You recount the murders, the chapel of damp skin, the chorus of teeth that sang in the tower of apostrophe. You tell it of the butcher's false beginning, and how the folio writes you now. Each word you utter peels away a layer from the chair, revealing beneath the dust a throne not of power, but of blame. The kind of seat that must be filled to end a cycle, and still, the white says nothing. But the chamber begins to turn, slowly, grinding, realigning. You feel it before you see it. The door, tall, narrow, covered in mirrored script that always faces away. You approach, the door breathes in anticipation. On its surface, an inscription blooms, curling like ink in milk. To sit is to forget. To stand is to rewrite. You hesitate. Not because you fear forgetting, but because the alternative ... requires knowing everything. And that burden may be worse still. You reach for the handle, your fingers touch it, and you remember the folio's first sentence. The child was not born, it was summoned, not you, then, but someone like you, the reader before. You see glimpses now, clawed fingertips flipping pages out of sequence. Eyes sewn open so they'd never blink during recitation. A voice stripped of vowels for speaking the taboo lexicon. They failed or succeeded too well. No one knows. The chamber tilts. You fall against the door. It opens not inward, not outward, but downward. You tumble. No screams, no sound. Just paragraphs unraveling beside you, each one bearing your past. Misremembered birthdays, teachers with no mouths. The night your dog warned you not to sleep, you land on a script, not a floor. A living manuscript. It breathes beneath your feet. You are inside the folio now, not reading it, not writing it, being it. Pages unfold to form corridors. Margins curl into arches. Footnotes drip like stalactites. You walk, and the story watches. Here, a sentence stalks you. It was never completed, so it wanders hungry for a conclusion. It brushes your skin. You itch with unfinished meaning. There, a stanza huddles in the dark. All its rhymes are broken. It weeps each tear another lost metaphor. Further in, you reach the chapter that was cut. You were warned about it once, in a whisper from a cracked mirror. Never seek the chapter with no title. It remembers being forgotten. But you do because you must. And when you find it, bound in rusted clasps and moaning like paper in flame, you know what to do. You open it, and inside, you see yourself, not a mirror. A reflection from before the folio found you. You're smiling, unaware, still whole. You reach toward the page, and your hand passes through. Into your own chest. It doesn't hurt. It corrects suddenly. Everything aligns. The screams you thought were dreams. They were edits, the nausea and graveyards. Just allergic to undeclared revisions. The reason books always trembled near you. You're a typo given form, a footnote rising too far. You step away from the chapter, it seals itself with a sigh, and the butcher's voice returns. From behind the page, from beneath the ink. You've wandered long, reader, but you still haven't asked the right question. You answer without thinking. Why was the folio made? Silence, then a chuckle. Dry, charred, binding thread in tone. To tell a story that couldn't be killed, and now it's your story. The manuscript starts to shudder. The ink reverses flow, pages fold inward. You run, but the corridor peels around you. You've triggered the end matter collapse, only one way out. Through the index of sins, you dive headfirst into cross-references. Every regret, every echo, every name you forgot when you needed it most, they scream past you in alphabetical agony. You land, gasping, on the other side, somehow ... Outside the folio, you're holding a page. Still warm, still bleeding ink, it bears no text. Just a single line, insert yourself. And so you do, you press the page to your chest. It fuses, burns, blesses. You are reader no longer, you are archive. And the folio is still hungry, but now so are you. The first thing you feel is weight not upon you, but within. An unnatural gravity has taken root in your chest. The inked page you absorb now pulsing like a second heart. It beats not with blood, but with chronology, ordering your breath into chapters, your thoughts into footnotes. You try to speak, and the words emerge italicized, involuntarily emphasized, as if reality itself now obeys your formatting. The chamber around you is new, or perhaps very, very old. Its architecture folds like the margins of an overhandled codex, smudged with the oils of 1,000 panicked fingers. Bookends taller than tombstones loom beside you, carved with glyphs that flicker between languages, none of them entirely human. This is the Index of Sins. You're standing on its title page, which stirs under your feet like parchment on a breeze, despite the stillness of the air, a faint. Continuous scratching sounds from below, as if an unseen archivist endlessly cross-references your every movement. And oh, it knows you. It begins with whispers, your failed apologies, your petty revenges, that moment in childhood when you watched the cat drown and did nothing. The index does not accuse, it simply records. A podium rises in front of you, crowned with a closed tome, not bound in skin this time, but something worse. Selfhood, the cover bears your face, your first face, the one you wore before words found you, before dreams learned your name. You touch it, it sighs, and opens. There is no table of contents, only entries. 1%, sorted by flavor rather than function, coveted flames. Whispers without witness, touch that which shouldn't touch back. You turn to a familiar page, and written pact of the blood letters grin. Your fingers tremble, you remember now. The day you first read the folio wasn't when you found it, it was when it found you. Hidden between the covers of a harmless playbill, folded into the margin of a prayer book. A line that wasn't there before, the reader deserves recompense. You spoke it aloud, and from then, you were indexed. A new entry appears, it writes itself as you watch. Denied mercy to the chapterless. You blink, the ink shines wet, you didn't you? In the back halls of the abbey, you passed that blind monk, the one who begged for a line. Just a line to make him real again. You kept walking, you thought it was safe. The index disagrees, you close the book. The podium recedes, unimpressed. A door now stands where there was only wall before. It is gloved, not carved, a frame of living hands sewn palm to palm, fingers still twitching. Each one wears a librarian's ring. None of them match. They part for you, because you are archived now. Beyond the door, darkness not empty, not vast. This is curatorial black, the velvet dark used to store things that scream under light. A figure approaches from it. They wear your face, but not your skin. This is your redacted self, the version of you before the folio finished its first pass, the you that didn't survive editing. It is smiling, its eyes are Machin's, and it speaks in footnotes. You've overwritten what you were. That's plagiarism, you know. You answer without breath, I wasn't finished. And now you're overwritten. Tell me, do you remember your first sentence? I do. Then you know why I'm here. It raises its hand. From the air, a quill coalesces dipped in the ink of the silenced, forged from the spines of the forgotten. It hovers between you. Only one may hold it, a duel. Then you understand the rules. You must write yourself true faster than it writes you false. You grasp the quill, it burns. Perfectly, you begin. Not with declarations, not with names, but with verbs. You endured, you bled, you read, you became. Each stroke counters your redacted self-script. They write, was merely a reader. You overwrite, rewrote the read. They write, feared the dark. You befriended its footnotes. The duel accelerates. Ink spills midair, evaporating into truths unspoken. Your hands blur. Your doppelganger phrase. Their paragraphs collapse into contradictory syntax. Was never, was never, was never. You strike the final phrase, is not yours anymore. The redacted self collapses into a single letter. You do not pick it up, you do not need it. The quill retracts, the ear stutters, the page beneath you closes, and now you stand not within a chamber, but within the binding, the folio's spine. A column of braided story roots, sentences so tightly wound they groan with pressure. Around you hang the annotations, the spirits of every reader who dared to far. Some are weeping, some still scribble in air. One just hums the preface on loop. They see you, and they hush. You are the next note, but not yet first. You must pass the final test. The folio offers no warning, only a single word, edit. You feel it invade you like hunger, not the kind for food but for correction. Your memories reorder. The soft eyes of your mother become quotation marks. The taste of your first kiss, citation needed. The face of the one you lost, redacted for brevity, and beneath it all, one final phrase insists itself. To fix the world, delete the self, but you resist. Because what's a folio without a hand to hold it? You erase the phrase, you write instead. To fix the folio, remember the self. It shudders, a pause, then it accepts. The annotations smile, the spine unwinds, you step forward, toward the end, but not before a final callback. The eyes in the portraits blink again, and this time, they close. The folio opens one last time, not to be read, but to read you back. You step through the unraveled spine into a sanctum where all narrative collapses into glossolalia, a place beyond syntax, beyond structure. Words flutter like black moths, landing briefly on your skin to whisper errata into your pores. The temperature here is measured in metaphors. The walls curve in ways that imply regret. This is the unwriting room. There are no shelves, no torches, no doors, only margins. They stretch infinitely outward, a pale border enclosing all unwritten possibility. Your footsteps ripple through them. And behind each ripple of life unwinds a farmer who never lost his crops, a tyrant who begged forgiveness, a child who lived. You don't belong in any of them. In the center of the room is a daze, simple as punctuation. Upon it rests a scroll. Not bound, braided, 3 voices speak at once from the braids, none of them human. To edit the world, says the first voice dry as vellum. You must choose the correct deletion. To bind a future, this is the second. You must erase a certainty. To escape this folio, moans the third. You must give it an ending. The scroll uncoils. You see 3 endings written in phantom ink. The erasure ending, you remove the butcher entirely. His crimes, his legacy, his name, he never existed. But neither will the warnings, the memorial ending. You enshrine the butcher's acts forever, carved into mountains, etched into bone. His evil remembered always, and therefore immortal. The mirror ending, you leave the folio open and finished. Others may find it, others may become it. And so the story repeats. Your hand trembles. There's a fourth braid, hidden. You tug it free. Your name is written there underneath, in a whispering scrawl. The reader may refuse the author. The room recoils. Reality hesitates. You speak a phrase no reader has dared, your voice steady despite the ink bleeding from your tongue. I choose to rewrite. You press your hand, the scroll. It erupts not in flame, but in footnotes. Every sentence you've ever spoken rewinds across your skin. Your laughter, your guilt, your apologies, your silence. They all converge in one phrase, written now across your chest like a tattoo. The reader wrote back, the folio resists. Pages scatter like birds startled mid-prayer, glyphs hiss and vanish. Sentences reverse mid-air, their words choking on themselves, but you anchor. You breathe, you edit, you take what was butchered and you reorder. The priests who were flayed for binding ink now sleep peacefully. The children who vanished into the black psalm awaken. Confused but whole, the castle unfounded, folded into the seam between fables. And the folio, it becomes a memory, not a book, a tale, a warning. A whisper told from one dreamer to the next, not to be held, but to be heeded. You blink, the unwriting room is gone. You are in your chamber again, the walls still carry the scent of iron, and the moonlight trembles across the floor like a candle about to snuff. But the folio, it lies closed, its cover now blank, no title, just a faint impression where once the words the butcher's folio were seared into skin. You lift it, lighter now, quieter ... inside. Each page is mirrored, empty, but for the faintest trace of your reflection. And at the very end, a final line, waiting for you. And now you know why the pages were bound in priests, because every page was a sermon unfinished. Because the butcher was never just one man. Because someone has to remember so that others don't repeat. And now, you remember. A knock echoes from behind your door. 3 taps, 1 pause, then 3 more. The librarian's knock, you do not open it. You already know what waits instead. You do what no reader ever dares. You close the book. You lock it and you bury it, but not with earth, with memory. In the marrow of your thoughts, where stories are immune to rot still. As you turn away, something presses against your palm. A new title, written in your own handwriting. Folio to the reader's revision. It isn't finished, but neither are you. The castle sighs behind you along. Papery exhale and you know what that means. You've stepped beyond the folio's spine, stitched your footprints into its margins, and now the world wants you back. The true world, the one with color, with sky, with consequence, but you don't walk out, you fall. A spiral descent through the memories of each page you passed. Each name carved into the folio's skin surfaces again not as ink, but as faces. Wavering, weeping, waiting, there is Father Kelm. Fingers ever clasped in prayer even as his jaw unhinges in silent scream. The black psalm of Vorther spools behind him like a prayer rope set ablaze. You remember the hymn, don't you? How it always began with a child's giggle and ended with a funeral bell. Next, the rook-marked queen her crown a lattice of vertebrae, her breath the scent of ink and widow's milk. Her eyes find yours, she does not blink. You are not exempt, she says, she never did forgive the reader. The floor you fall through is not stone, it is text sentences coiling like millipedes. Paragraphs writhing, footnotes biting deep into your calves as they scream annotations. A tide of redacted truth floods your lungs. This is what they never told you. The folio does not end with the final page. It ends when you begin writing, and the folio hates that. You're near the bottom now if such a place exists. And there it is, the last margin. White, blank ... waiting. It stretches beneath you like parchment stretched over a drum. But it doesn't catch you, it asks a question instead. Not with words, with weight, with implication. With the full pressure of 30,000 whispered sins asking you why you kept turning the pages. You land hard, standing, unharmed, mostly. Your shadow does not match you anymore. It is taller, older, smiling. A long table rises before you. Set for one, the plates are mirrors. The wine glows a gentle, poisonous green. Across from you is a scribe. They wear no face, just a smudge where a face should be like charcoal over skin. I've been waiting, they say, pen raised. Waited longer than I should have. The reader took so long to choose. The scribe gestures toward the parchment between you. Your hand rises without consent. The pen is in your grasp now. The scribe nods ... and vanishes. Now you write. What? Only what you remember, which is everything. But memory lies, doesn't it? So you begin carefully. Not with the butcher, not with the skin. You begin with a sound. The first sound you heard in the folio, the wet shuffle of something just out of sight. A sentence breathing, a word tasting your name. And you begin to describe it. The ink flows easily. Too easily. You worrying it isn't ink at all. And you're right, it's you. But what's one more sacrifice, really? They gave their skin, you give your story. The parchment thrums beneath your hand. Lines crawl up your wrist like veins turning into letters. You keep writing. And as you write, the world rebuilds itself around you. The scribe's chamber becomes your own. The table folds back into the shadows. The mirrors weep and drip down the walls. And in that flickering moment of transition, you glimpse what the folio always wanted. Not worship, not fear. Repetition. You hear the knock again. But it's behind your eyes this time. You ignore it. You finish your line. You close the page. You look up and find that someone else is watching now. Perhaps they're behind a screen. Perhaps they clicked for entertainment. Perhaps they forgot to like or subscribe. But they're here, and that's all the folio ever needed. Someone else to turn the page. You lift your head, slow as ruin. Your spine clicks not from pain, but from settling. You've taken the scribe's seat now. The quill is part of your hand. The pages of the folio, the room, the air. Time doesn't move anymore. It loops. The table before you is full of pages still unwritten, but each blank sheet hums with memory. Your memory, or the memory of those before you, copied over too many times to stay loyal to truth. You feel it all now. The bone pile behind the stained glass window, rebuilt into a choir. The infant cradled in the well, its lullaby encoded in silence. The scholar whose skin was flayed in alphabetical order. All real, all recurring, you stare down at the final leaf of the folio. Then, greedy, eager, your name is already there. You notice scratched in the trembling cursive of someone who knew they were being watched. Funny, you don't remember writing it, but you did. Didn't you, long before you arrived? Something called you. Left the page open. Now the words are yours to retrace. You speak aloud for the first time since the descent. The folio ends here, but the parchment curls, displeased. You try again. The reader ends here. Still, the page waits, so you write instead. The page is not the final page. The final page is the one that reads you back. A sound answers that line dry, rasping, like parchment breathing. The page flattens, accepts, your hand stills. And the lights dim fade. Like eyelids, the chamber of script closes softly around you. But you are not alone. No one ever is in the folio. A rustling across the spine, you glance over your shoulder. There, a figure approaches. They walk as if being turned by a page, halting, measured. Their eyes glow like candle stubs, almost out. They carry nothing. They wear a whisper. And they are watching you. They have questions. All readers do. You won't answer, not with words. You slide the final page toward them. And now, you wait. The folio's breath slows. Its heartbeat settles into a deep, inked slumber. And now we drift. Now we slip. Now we hush. Now the 300-word wind down. This is a trap. The candle gutters. The dark between the pages stirs. You feel it curl closer now. Warm as breath against your cheek. You've done well, haven't you? Read far, deeper than most, deeper than you meant to. You stayed when others flinched. You smiled when the portraits blinked. You nodded when the book sighed. You listened, but the folio listens back. And now, with your story whispered into its flesh, it leans close to return the favor. It will follow your thoughts. In quiet moments, in dreams you forget before waking. It will echo your laughter with their own voice. It will speak to your mirrors. It will read you. Because that's what stories do, don't they? They wait and whisper and remember. So go on then, close your eyes. They'll watch for you.